All right, folks, welcome aboard. We're going to kick it off with Ken Griffey Sr. Did you watch the All-Star game last night? Well, Ken Griffey, a three-time All-Star, was MVP of that game back in 1980. He'll be here to discuss everything baseball. And then the Malzberg panel will get a little more serious. Christopher Hahn will be here, host of the Christopher Hahn Show, and Kevin Jackson, radio host. David Horowitz, founder and president of the David Horowitz Freedom Center and editor of Front Page Magazine, will join us to talk about the war between Israel and Hamas and the anti-Semitism being exhibited throughout Western Europe. All that, give me five and more this hour, Steve Malzberg Show.
Fire in.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, before we get into everything serious, and believe me, we will, let's take a breather. It's baseball, apple pie, and what, Chevrolet? I want you to watch this, Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr. Then we'll talk to Sr.
First game. The Griffeys continued to amaze.
Well hit to center field. Devon White going back. Gone! A two-run home run. Hey, that's a great sight to see him come to home plate and be congratulated by his son. So here's Ken Jr. And he gets one ball to left center field. Back-to-back home run. What else can these guys do? Not to be outdone, says Jr. The great thing about the Griffeys, it's not like a father-son relationship. They're more like brothers. I mean, they really kid each other in the clubhouse. Sammy shoots a high fly out of left center. And it's Ken Griffey Jr. taking the play away from his father.
Oh, man. All right, joining us now, folks, is Ken Griffey Sr., former major leaguer, roving coach for the Cincinnati Reds, played on 2 world championships with the Big Red Machine, 3-time All-Star, MVP of the All-Star game back in 1980, I believe, and, of course, father, as you saw, of Ken Griffey Jr. It is so great to see you, sir.
My pleasure.
Thanks for coming up. So when you see that, did they have it right to describe, first of all, when you saw him cut in front of you, when you told me you grounded him after that?
Yeah, I grounded him. He had to give the keys over to me. I wasn't there to drive for a week.
Playing in the same outfield, on the same team, on the same outfield as your son, and the back-to-back homers and this kind of relationship, was the announcer in that instance right, that you guys had, while you were playing anyway, more like a brother relationship than a father-son?
Well, a lot of people thought he was my younger brother anyway. You know, I had him so young. You know, I was 19. So, but at the same time, yeah, they were right when they hit it right on the head when they said we were pretty close. I used to tease him all the time, you know, and he'd never get whoopings. His mom did all that work. So, but other than that, yeah, it was pretty close. We kind of, you know, cherished that relationship between the two of us.
I'm sure. I remember covering the Yankees in the early 80s when you played for the Yankees. I think you said 3 years or so, 4 years, and you had 9 managers.
Yeah.
But I remember your son, you know, and I tell my son who's 14 now, probably your son at the time was 14 or so. I'd say he was throwing the ball off the clubhouse wall. I said, and my son says, Dad, Ken Griffey Jr., you saw him as a kid throwing the ball. I said, yeah, because his dad played with the Yankees and he was hanging around sometime.
Well, he was there most of the weekends.
Yeah.
And that's where he actually learned baseball, you know, I mean, especially the hitting part of it. Because I would take him into the cage and I'd throw batting practice to him. And, you know, when he got 14, I couldn't strike him out, so I knew I had somebody pretty special at that time. You know, and I was left-handed and he's left-handed, so left-handed pitchers never really affected him.
That's amazing. So let's talk about the book, Big Red, Baseball, Fatherhood, and My Life with the Big Red Machine. Talk about the family. I mean, it's such an important aspect. You know, I think there's nothing better that a father and son could do than to have a catch. My son plays travel ball and all that in New Jersey, and whenever I could, and from the youngest age, always had a catch, always played make-believe games with him. He'd be the batter, I'd be the pitcher. We'd have make-believe lineups. How important was that relationship to you with your son while you were playing and you were away from him at times?
Well, when he was younger, in terms of, you know, like I said, I spent 20 years in Cincinnati. I lived 20 years in Cincinnati. So when I was playing in Cincinnati, then it was a lot easier for me to make that adjustment in terms of playing with him backyard, throwing, catching, and all that. But when I got traded to the Yankees, they still lived, you know, the family still lived in Cincinnati. Cincinnati. So the only time I really got a chance to see him was on like a weekend, because he played travel ball, and travel ball was, you know, they were going all the time. And he didn't want to go anywhere, but he just wanted to play ball, so he was traveling all the time. So when he got in a little bit of trouble or something, his mom sent him up to me. There's where he learned how to play a lot. You know, batting practice, you know, throwing, catching, all that. That's where we really got into, because when he came up there, he told me he wanted to be a major league player. So I had to take him through the gamut of what he had to understand and how to play the game.
Well, you should be. I mean, you should be. They should be knocking your door down to be a personal coach to every kid in America.
Well, I do a lot of that. I have 14 grandkids, so
wow.
I do a lot of that.
You were a young dad. You're a young grandfather.
Right. So I've did a lot. I'm trying to teach them now. So I'm trying. You know, at the end of this year, maybe I'm probably going to retire. And
from the roving coach,
from the roving and all that,
yeah.
And then end up just teaching my little ones.
Good,
you know,
for
because I
you.
got one at 7 that stays with me, and I got 14, 13, 12.
Any of them remind you of your son, baseball talent-wise?
Well, all of them say they're going to outdo their uncle. So that's what their plans are, is outdo Junior.
You're watching the All-Star game last night, whether you watched it or not. They had, you know, it was a special event for Derek Jeter.
Yeah.
The players honored him in many special ways. One, when he got the ovation, Wainwright, the pitcher for the National League, put his glove down on the mound and stepped back and signaled that he was going to let the ovation go on before he picked up his glove to pitch. And Jeter said he really appreciated that. You were an MVP of the All-Star game. The meaning of that game. Now, of course, the winner gets the league gets the 7th game in the World Series. But special, those All-Star games?
Well, they were always special for us in terms of. It was a lot of personal pride. The only thing we wanted out of those games when I played in the All-Star games was who beat who. You know, and being the National League was very honored to be. The guys who were on those teams wanted to beat the American League, because we used to look at it this way all the time. The Yankees always won the World Series, you know. And
not when you were there.
Well, not when I was there. But
not in the 70s. It's all 70s, but not 80s. And
yeah, but you're looking at that. The Yankees had dominated the World
Series.
Series.
So this was the National League's way of getting back.
And this is the way that the National League would get back, by beating all the stars of the American League. And when I was in the National League, I think we won like 11 or 12
There was
straight.
a streak, long streak.
We won 11 or 12 straight, and then coming to the American League, and then making All-Star team in the American League. But at the same time, you know, all of a sudden they switch from whoever wins the National League All-Star or the All-Star game is going to have a home field advantage for the World Series. But that wasn't when I've come through. It was just personal pride, you know, in winning that game.
Well, that's very important. Your impressions of Derek Jeter.
My impressions of Derek Jeter.
You didn't see it. You weren't with them on the Yankees at the time.
No, I wasn't. Derek was coming up. He was probably in the minor leagues when I got there. But I mean, he's the Yankee right now. You know, you're talking about the Clipper, Joe DiMaggio. The one that I loved the most was probably Yogi. You know, so you got the deal. I got a chance to meet Yogi, Whitey Ford, Mickey Mantle. You know, and because I was a little older than Derek, I had 10 years on him or something in the big leagues. But you get and then you're looking at him as the ultimate Yankee right now. So Reggie Jackson is still around, and then Yogi's still there. But you know, Derek is the man. Him and the pitcher. They just retired last year.
Rivera.
Rivera. So you know, you're just looking at guys that are Yankees and the pinstripes.
Absolutely.
When I came here, this was the only team that I was going to play for in the American League. I never thought about any other team in the American League. I was going to play for the New York Yankees.
Something special about the pinstripes. Absolutely.
It is. You know,
Gossage always said, and I'm glad he's a Hall of Famer. You know, he had 3 inning saves. So the game was so different then. He was an amazing character, and all those relievers, Raleigh Fingers. I mean, they didn't come in for 1 inning.
Well, they came in. It wasn't a situation where you can pitch to one guy and you got to save.
Right.
No, I mean sometimes they had to pitch 4 innings.
Amazing.
You know, and the difference you're looking at, same with starters. You know, most starters, they talk about a quality start is 5 innings. You know, and I'm looking at our guys. You know, you're talking about 300.
You got a 6th inning man, a 7th inning man, an 8th inning man.
But, I mean, you know, Tom Seaver was throwing
you buy into that, or is that?
It's rough. Reason being, I managed in the minor leagues, and we had pitch counts.
Right. Are they overdoing that these days?
I don't know if they're overdoing it or whatever, but
because everybody's getting hurt. What's the reason everybody's getting hurt?
I think to me, it might be just lack of use. You know, I mean, how many guys really got Tommy John surgery a week?
Hardly any.
Yeah, and they were going 350 innings, and you know, and they wouldn't come out of the game if the game's on the line. There wouldn't be a stopper coming out of there.
Absolutely.
No, so that, I mean, it's just a total of how you make adjustments, but it's so tough as a manager now to, especially in the minor leagues, if you're going to go out and we had a guy, Singrani. And he threw 48, 50 pitches, all fastballs, and hadn't thrown it a breaking ball. And my pitching coach, Rigo Beltran, was upset because he hadn't thrown the changeup or curveball or anything or a slider. And I said, well, Rigo, they haven't got a hit yet. Why should we worry about that? But we still, the 6th inning, I had to take him out.
Right, pitch count. Let me ask you, hey, blacks, only 8% of the game is blacks now. Hank Aaron was asked about that the other day. He said, yeah, but whites, there's hardly any whites either.
Very few.
What does that say about the game? Is that a bad thing for the game?
You know, to be honest with you, I don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing, but you know, all I know is that we're losing out. When I came in, it was 28% black in Major League Baseball. Now it's down to 8%. But you're looking at, every time you look up, it's Latin America. And that's where they go. They go, and I guess it's, if you sit there, you know, it used to be Puerto Rico was the #1 Latin American team. I mean, kids would come into, you know, Willie Montanez, Felix Mignon, all those guys were from Puerto Rico. But since the draft, there's no Puerto Rican kids either. You know, we've had 3 Puerto Rican kids in the last 8 years that I've been dealing with minor league kids.
Can it turn around?
So it's all. I'm hoping it turns around. I don't know how it's going to turn around or what's going to happen, but I'm hoping it turns around.
Ken Griffey, I could talk to you for hours. Great to see you, sir. Thank you very much, folks. He's going to be at Bookends in Ridgewood tonight. I believe at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. So check it out. And the book, Big Red: Baseball, Fatherhood, and My Life in the Big Red Machine. Ken Griffey. We're coming back with more serious stuff on the Malzberg panel.
Meet Mary. She loves to shop online with her debit card. And so does Bill, an identity thief who stole Mary's identity, took over her bank accounts, and stole her hard-earned money. Unfortunately, millions of Americans just like you learn all it may take is a little misplaced information to wreak havoc on your life. This is identity theft, and no one helps stop it better than LifeLock. LifeLock offers the most comprehensive identity theft protection available. If Mary had LifeLock's bank account alerts, she may have been notified before it was too late. LifeLock's credit notification service is on the job 24/7. As soon as they detect a threat to your identity within their network, they will alert you, protecting you before the damage is done. LifeLock has the most comprehensive identity theft protection available, guarding your social security number, your money, your credit, even the equity in your home.
My years as a prosecutor taught me that we all need to protect ourselves from crime. In today's world, that includes identity theft. It's a serious problem. We all have to protect ourselves.
While identity theft can't be completely stopped, no one works harder to protect you than LifeLock. You even get a $1 million service guarantee. That's security no one can beat. You have so much to protect and nothing to lose when you call LifeLock right now and get 60 days of identity theft protection risk-free. That's right, 60 days risk-free. Use promo code NOTME. Order now and get this document shredder to keep sensitive documents out of the wrong hands. A $29 value, free. Don't wait until you become the next victim. Call 1-800-918-3128 for 60 days of LifeLock identity theft protection risk-free and get a document shredder free. Use promo code NOTME. Call 1-800-918-3128 now.
Staring contest! You still got it. I know.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Politics, commentary, entertainment, sports, news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
I'm 73 years old. Every day I get up is a gift. I was an end-stage heart failure 2 years ago. Got a new heart. That does wonders for your attitude, but from my perspective, I feel very strongly that these things need to be said. And if I don't say them, I don't know who else will on the standpoint of the Republican Party or somebody who has my background and experience over the last 40 years. I believe these things very deeply. I always have. My views haven't changed, but I think it's very important to be part of the debate. And that's what I intend to do.
All right, folks, Dick Cheney with Jake Tapper on CNN yesterday, and it's time for the Malzberg panel. And joining us once again, the host of the Christopher Hahn Show and former senior aide to Senator Charles Schumer, Christopher Hahn, and radio host and author, Kevin Jackson. And gentlemen, you know, I chuckle. That's how I chuckle. I chuckle when I hear the left say that Dick Cheney should just go away, and why doesn't he act like George W. Bush and not weigh in? And then I look over and I see Bill Clinton constantly weighing in, always has. Jimmy Carter constantly weighing in, always has. But George W. Bush is an anomaly. He's decided to just stay out of the fray. So let me put it to you, Christopher. What's wrong with Dick Cheney weighing in and giving his opinion?
Well, nothing, as long as we put the disclaimer that the guy's been thoroughly wrong on just about everything he's ever done since 2001. So, I mean, you know, let's just remind people that he's responsible for the Iraq failure. He's responsible for, in a large part, for all of our failures of the years of the Bush administration years. He was the driving force. He's the head neocon, and his policies have been proven thoroughly wrong. But other than that, I don't care who weighs in. Let's just remind people how wrong this guy's been.
You got Kevin Jackson cracking up. Go ahead, Kevin.
I'm cracking up because it's a typical leftist drivel. He hasn't said anything. What's Dick Cheney done? He's one of the most astute guys that's commenting on politics. Just recently, he said he had a hard time believing that he was actually saying Jimmy Carter may be a better president than Barack Obama. The only thing that Dick Cheney does that the left dislikes is he delivers truth. They're attacking the guy for having an opinion about how things are going. Put it back to them. What are you so happy about with Barack Obama that Dick Cheney wouldn't be chiming in on? He was vice president of the United States.
Well, you know, Dick Cheney and George W. Bush started 2 wars. Barack Obama ended 2 wars. Dick Cheney and W. destroyed the stock market and the economy. Barack Obama revived the economy and the stock market.
Yeah.
Look, Jimmy Carter is a better president than George W. Bush was. That is for damn sure.
Who is? Who is?
Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter.
Well, let's talk about the stock market, because let's talk about the stock market because I think the Democrats. It's funny. Barack Obama has every intent. Why isn't he spiking the football on the stock market? The guy who said he was going to separate Main Street and Wall Street and penalize all those big Wall Street fat cats. And you know who's making out? All those Wall Street fat cats. And the stock market is fraudulent, and he knows it. This guy knows it. He knows the value of $1 or so depleted, that the stock market could go to 20,000 and it's still around 8 in white president terms. It's at 8,000.
All right, let me, Christopher. Let me ask you something, Christopher.
Mr. Jackson. What?
I just want to make sure
Christopher,
I don't even know how to respond to that. I'm not going to touch that, Steve. Maybe you can.
I'm not sure exactly what Kevin means, but let me change over to something Dick Cheney said about he is fearful, very fearful, and very certain that we will get hit with much harder in this country than we were on 9/11 with much more severe weapons. And you bring up ending 2 wars, and you applaud that. And the way Barack Obama ran out of Iraq has led to ISIS, which now has led to every security expert you could find is warning that the people are going to train with ISIS and have just entree into this country because a lot of them have passports and visas. They'll have no problem getting in here undetected, and they could launch a major attack in the United States.
Well, look, we're always going to have people who want to do us harm. And under this president, we have seen that harm been done outside of our borders by foreign nationals. So, you know, we have to continue to watch that. I hear what Dick Cheney says, and I'm not saying he's totally wrong there. You know, ISIS is a potential threat down the road. But that said, ISIS was created because of the Iraq War. ISIS was created by Dick Cheney policies.
Dick Cheney policies. Okay.
Yeah, it's
now, aren't those the policies that Hillary Clinton and John Kerry voted for? They endorsed?
Great point.
They were lied to.
Oh, they were lied to. I see. They're poor, stupid Hillary and John Kerry. They bought those lies. I don't buy that.
Well,
no, you shouldn't buy it because that's exactly what the left does. When the narrative fits them, then they want it to sound, as if it was everybody else's fault. Look, none of us that are on this call.
Were they not lied to? I mean, didn't Bush and Cheney?
Wait, one at a time, Kevin. Let Kevin finish. Go ahead.
None of us that are on this program have been in any of the security briefings or anything that led to that decision. And I wouldn't second guess Barack Obama if he did or did not go into war on something like this. So that drivel that comes from the left, you didn't sit in on any of those meetings, but you just repeat the talking points. Look, we decided as a nation to go to war. In the story.
Senate back then. I did work in the Senate back then, and I did have C-SPAN,
Did you sit in on
and
those
there was a
security
briefing.
briefings?
Did you sit in on any of those? No.
All right, guys. I don't want to litigate the reason for going into war. We went into Iraq because the world thought he had chemical weapons.
Because they were told by Dick Cheney that he had chemical weapons.
No. The king of Jordan told General Franks that you better be wearing the chemical suits because he's going to use what he has. So the whole world thought that he had chemical weapons. That's a whole nother story, though. Let's go on. The headline on Drudge right now, Christopher, is an illegal who came to the border with kids, was given papers to appear, ran, murdered, and is now being held for murdering and kidnapping. This is just one example.
Well, I don't read Drudge, and I don't really believe anything they say. So
all right. Well, that's a stupid. Christopher, that's a pretty silly remark because excuse me. Drudge links to publications who print news stories. So to say you don't read Drudge and believe anything they say, I don't even know what that means. Let's pick this up on the other side. We're talking to Christopher Hahn and host of the Christopher Hahn Show, and of course Kevin Jackson, the author of The Big Black Lie and radio host, who I believe just got a new gig, if I'm not mistaken. He can tell us about it when we come back. And we'll be back with part 2 of the Malzberg panel. You want to get in touch? Here's how you do it.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler, and I know there are many myths out there about a reverse mortgage, so I want you to know the facts. There are currently no credit score or income requirements to qualify. You can get tax-free money from the equity in your home. You can use the money to pay off your current mortgage if you have one. The remaining money can be used for anything. There's no monthly mortgage payments, and you still own your home. Call today to get your free guide and DVD. It explains how a government-insured reverse mortgage works. There's no obligation. One Reverse Mortgage is a Quicken Loans company. Their licensed experts can answer all your questions. Call to find out what a great solution this can be. Don't wait. Call now.
Call 800-924-9033 to get your free quote. And when you call now, you'll also get a free lighted magnifier. Call 800-924-9033.
Back in the 50s, sod farmers invented hydroseeding as the easiest way to grow beautiful grass. But you're still doing this. You want a great-looking lawn, but have dry spots, dog spots, high traffic areas, and shade. What a nightmare. You seed, water, and wait. But the only thing growing are the weeds. It's no wonder the seed gets washed away, blown away by wind, and eaten by birds. Not anymore. Introducing the revolutionary Hydro Mousse Liquid Lawn with spray and stay technology. The grass grows where you spray it. Start growing with ease. If you can water your lawn, you can hydro seed. Simply attach to any garden hose and turn the dial to seed. Forget the guesswork. Hydro Mousse shows you exactly where you're planting. The Green Mousse formula contains an eco-friendly sticking solution that attaches the seed to the soil and a conditioner to loosen hard dirt, allowing it to absorb water, resulting in a terrific looking lawn. We sprayed Hydro Mousse on this vertical burlap wall, and look, The seed locks in place, even upside down. And the grass grows like crazy, even on a vertical wall. It grows in extreme heat or cold conditions. It's perfect for dog spots, high traffic areas, large areas, and shade. And no more guesswork. Hydromousse includes a mixture of high-quality seed that blends perfectly with your existing lawn. It's never been faster or easier to get professional results at a fraction of the cost. So why pay a fortune for sod or seed the old-fashioned way when you can get the complete Hydromousse kit for only $19.95 to bring your lawn back to life? That's enough to do 100 spots or 50 square feet. But call now and we'll double the coverage. That's an incredible 200 spots or 100 square feet. And don't forget to ask the operator for large lot and acreage discounts. So don't put up with this when you can have this.
Call 1-800-341-7712 or go to hydromousse.com.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. Iraq continues to make progress in their long-awaited political reforms. Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki spoke in a televised address earlier today. Maliki praised Parliament's election of a new speaker and called on lawmakers to put aside political rivalries. The country continues to struggle to build a more representative government while fighting Islamic State militants. And a city in North Texas rejected a measure to ban further fracking in their community. The decision followed roughly 8 hours of public testimony. Denton City Council members struck down the petition 5-2. The proposal will reappear in public ballots in November, as well as a referendum allowing voters to decide on the issue directly. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, coming up in the next segment, by the way, we'll be joined by David Horowitz. But right now, the Malzberg panel rejoins us. Christopher Hahn is here, and so is Kevin Jackson. I want to talk about a story here out of New Jersey. There's a station called News 12, New Jersey, and this white anchor, or reporter, I should say, was reporting on this horrific story out of Jersey City, where a black man killed a police officer on purpose. He planned it. He had the cops come. He robbed the store. He waited for them in the parking lot, the whole thing. And then the guy's wife, and then he was killed by police. And the guy's wife said he should have taken out more cops with him. And the reporter said that in his report that the underlying cause of an anti-police mentality is young black men growing up without fathers. He was suspended without pay, and apparently he's not coming back. Let me start with you, Kevin. Should he be punished for interjecting that?
Well, I think the news has become not the news anymore, Steve, to be honest with you. So he gave an opinion piece, which I think a lot of people would disagree with. The issue is, though, I don't even think it's that he gave an opinion. I think that it's just that they didn't like his opinion because they got a lot of negative feedback, believe it or not, from the black community who condone the shooting of this cop and the shooting of other cops. And so from my perspective, no, nothing should have happened to him. It's what people do every day now in the news, it seems. And for the record, he's exactly right. The liberal community has destroyed the black family, and the black casualty are the kids.
What about it, Christopher?
Well, look, reporters aren't supposed to give opinions, and when they give opinions, their management are probably going to say, hey, your job is to report, not to give your opinion. And I think we need more of that in reporting these days. More facts, less opinion. Leave the opinion to guys like me.
Yeah, you'd lose half the liberal reporters if you did that. The majority of these guys, when they're writing this copy, it's being written slanted. It may not be as overt as he did, where he actually makes, he opines a statement, but it's in there if you listen carefully. It's no longer the news and the way Cronkite used to deliver it.
Well, when a reporter gives a statement like the one he gave, you got to ask the next question: where did you get that from? And if there was a fact, if there was a study he was quoting to give that opinion, then he should quote it. But what he was doing was opining based on his own beliefs, which had no basis in facts, and that's probably why he was suspended.
All right, guys, one more real quick, and maybe Christopher, you could you have a hotline to Michelle Obama more so than me or Kevin. You got to tell her that this year 2,053 people have been killed by Boko Haram. because she seems to think, and it's been presented to the American people by her, that Boko Haram is all about keeping girls from getting educated. She might be shocked to learn that over 2,000 people have been killed by Boko Haram this year.
Just because she was trying to get the girls released who were taken by Boko Haram and opining on that doesn't mean that she doesn't understand that they're a violent terrorist organization. Believe me, she understands.
You think so, Kevin?
Well, look, there's thinking about it and there's doing something about it. And her husband sits in the most powerful office in the world, and he can't get a Marine out of Mexico. So what makes her think he's going to save 2,000 Boko Haram deaths? It's just not going to happen.
All right. Guys, I appreciate it. Christopher Hahn and Kevin Jackson, thank you for joining me once again on the panel. Appreciate it. We'll have you back very, very soon. All right, folks. Yeah, 2,053 killed this year, and the year's not over. We'll be back with David Horowitz, as I mentioned, and more of the show. But first, this hour's American Moment takes a look back at the Louisiana Purchase.
Thomas Jefferson is credited with doubling the nation's size through the Louisiana Purchase. But it was events far beyond his control that made that purchase possible. After becoming president in 1801, Jefferson recognized the Mississippi River had become a major trade route bordering the eastern boundaries of the United States. But he also recognized its vulnerability, since the city that controlled the mouth of the Mississippi, New Orleans, was owned by the French. America's overtures to purchase the city of New Orleans were repeatedly rejected by the French until 1803, when the French Navy suffered a major defeat off the coast of what is now Haiti. Napoleon found himself needing money to rebuild his navy. Consequently, when in that same year, Secretary of State James Monroe again traveled to Paris with an offer to purchase New Orleans, he was pleasantly surprised to learn Napoleon was willing to sell not only New Orleans, but all of France's territories in the New World. The United States was ready to spend up to $10 million to purchase just the city. So when Napoleon offered to sell all of their land holdings for a total of $15 million, the future president accepted. In one action, 828,000 square miles covering the future states of Arkansas, Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Mexico, North Dakota, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Texas, and Wyoming became part of America for less than 3 cents per acre. For Newsmax TV, I'm Bill Curtis, and this is an American Moment.
Falls are the #1 cause of injury to senior citizens. Falling down stairs can be disastrous. Acorn Stairlifts has a solution. Just don't fall. Sit, relax, ride with an Acorn Stairlift, the world's leader in stairlifts. That's right, don't let limited mobility keep you from going up and down your stairs, even outside. Call Acorn Stairlifts now for a free information kit and no obligation quote. Now you can safely ride with your Acorn Stairlift.
Now I don't have to worry about him climbing those stairs again.
And our Acorn Stairlift was very affordable.
Our Acorn Stairlift is definitely more affordable than moving.
The Acorn Stairlift has a padded seat and backrest for maximum comfort. It easily folds up for access to the stairway. 5 safety sensors stop your Acorn Stairlift if there's something in the way. And it even runs during power outages.
And I'm the king of my own castle again.
You'll be working directly with the world's leader in stairlifts. That's right, there's no middleman. Acorn's trained technicians professionally install your stairlift directly to the staircase, in most cases in 2 hours or less, with no need for special construction. We don't leave until you're completely comfortable using your Acorn Stairlift.
Don't risk a serious fall down the stairs.
I was really surprised at how little they cost.
Call for your free no-obligation information kit and quote from Acorn Stairlifts. Just don't fall. Safely ride up and down your steps.
Give your life a lift with an Acorn Stairlift.
Call 1-800-514-1402 for your free information kit. That number again is 1-800-514-1402. or visit our website today.
Call now.
Politics, commentary, entertainment, sports, news, and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Situation and the pullout of Iraq has seen the situation that we have now with the political vacuum and ISIS taking over, and the way that you handled the end of the Libya conflict and lack of political engagement, kind of now you see a lot of violence and instability, and now you look at the situation in the Israeli-Palestinian after that some would attribute to the breakdown of the talks. I mean, what do you say to respond to critics that say the kind of region and turmoil that we're seeing right now is a direct result of U.S. foreign policy failures?
I would refute that completely. The United States has never been more engaged in more places in the world than it is today.
Okay. Welcome back to the show, folks. We're joined now by David Horowitz, founder, president of the David Horowitz Freedom Center, and editor of Front Page Magazine, author of the Black Book of the American Left. Hello, David.
Hey, Steve. America's never been run by more compulsive liars than it is now. It's just unbelievable what comes out of the White House and its spokespeople these days.
Well, let me start with the White House specifically. How is it possible, and I've asked this question now for days and weeks and maybe a month, how is it possible that from the beginning, this unity government, this administration announced they're going to continue to support the unity government of the Palestinian Authority and Hamas, not only financially but otherwise, and even after Hamas has been bombing indiscriminately civilians in Israel and rejected a ceasefire, this government still has no problem, apparently, with the unity government, including Hamas.
Well, look, it's because this president is black and nobody wants to touch him is one of the problems. And then the Democratic Party has gone over, to the dark side is the other problem. Hamas is a Nazi, or it's worse than the Nazis. Hitler hid the final solution. That is, he hid his plan to exterminate the Jews. Hamas has it in its charter. And every day you hear them shouting it from the rooftops. We want to kill all the Jews. We want to push them into the sea. We want to destroy the state of Israel. We don't want to live next to them. They should be dead. And you have all these Palestinian voters and all these Gaza voters who voted for them. They were elected in a democratic election. You have a whole nation of Nazis, and you have the president of the United States supporting them with taxpayer money. We had a 16-year-old American child from Brooklyn brutally murdered, and the president said, "No, nothing. We bring Americans home." No, we don't. Not if they're Jews. This is an anti-Semitic, anti-American president. That's the big problem. And let me just say something about what's caused all this chaos in the Middle East. It started with the Democrats' betrayal of the war in Iraq. Of course, there were WMDs. ISIS found the WMDs, and there was a whole week of news stories about this chemical weapons storage factory with nobody saying, duh, I guess Cheney and Bush and Rumsfeld were 100% right. There were WMDs. It was the Democrats who turned against the war because there was an election and an anti-war candidate named Howard Dean was winning the presidential primary. And they sabotaged the American war effort. There's never been a greater betrayal of America than what the Democrats did during the Iraq war. We should have pursued the weapons of mass destruction and Saddam's generals into Syria. Where do you think Syria got the chemical weapons from? Well, we couldn't do that, or Bush couldn't do that, because there was a full-scale war in America against the Bush administration conducted by the Democratic Party and by the New York Times and the Washington Post and all the usual suspects. Then Obama, when he takes over, not only does he telegraph to the world that he wants to lose both wars, he's going to pull out of Iraq, he's not going to leave an American presence there, he's going to pull out of Afghanistan, but he intervenes illegally and without consultation with anyone into Libya and creates chaos in that country. Gaddafi was a bad man, but he was opposed to al-Qaeda, so al-Qaeda now rules Libya. Then he turns around and supports the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, the spawner of al-Qaeda, the Muslim Brotherhood. Whatever you think about Barack Obama, his acts show that he's on the other side of these wars.
All right, let's talk, David, about the reaction to what's going on in Israel. You know, Stephen Hawking is apparently supporting the Palestinians. You have actors, you have entertainers like Rihanna and basketball players, but you have what's worse is you have on the streets and in front of the synagogues in Paris and Germany, you have vehement, virulent anti-Semitism rearing its ugly head.
All the Jew haters of the world have come out of the woodwork. You have Jon Stewart calling Hamas, this Nazi organization, whose purpose is to exterminate the Jews. That's its purpose. You have Jon Stewart calling them freedom fighters. It's the total degeneration of the left and so-called, there are no liberals. I mean, you know, Republicans are liberal compared to these, but these Democrats are not liberal, they're leftists. And they don't seem to be able to make any moral distinctions between Nazis and people who are their targets. I mean, Israel is a remarkable country. It's democratic, it's tolerant, and yet there's this war to destroy it, led by Hamas, but supported by progressives everywhere. I'm embarrassed. You know, when I was on the left, I mean, I try to think back of my mentality then. I can't imagine supporting Hamas or the Palestinians. This is an evil people. And they've demonstrated it year after year. They don't care about a state for themselves. All they care about is killing Jews.
Well, of course, and Hamas has also said that their goal is to kill Jews wherever they are around the world. It kind of, you know, the guise of being anti-Zionist and claiming we're not against Jews, we're not anti-Semitic, we're anti-Zionist. But when you have Hamas, with their, as you pointed out, with their charter, not only to kill Israel, destroy Israel, but to kill Jews wherever they are, and then you have these people coming out and supporting Hamas, they can't claim to be just anti-Israel anymore.
No, but look, that was always a lie. You know, if the only black state in the world were under siege by 300 million neighbors that wanted to exterminate them, you think people would make a distinction between the Black Liberation Movement and you know, and racism? Of course they wouldn't.
No, of course not. Let me ask you, David. David, the media coverage of this. I mean, I've seen over and over again. I said Aaron Burnett and others, Ronan Farrow, and you know, talking about the killing of civilians. These networks keep a scorecard. You could almost see some kind of satisfaction in all their faces when the first Israeli was actually killed in this conflict, because finally there was a death in Israel. But this, you know, disproportionate response, and Israel stronger, and it's insane and obscene at the same time.
It's a little country that's a target of rockets supplied, you know, by Iran, China, whatever. Come on, these people are morally defective, and of course, this happens every time there's a war between these evil Palestinians who are absolutely worse than the Nazis, who have two terrorist governments, who now have a terrorist unity government, who make no secret about their desire to kill the Jews. They have these little kids holding up 3 fingers to celebrate the murder of the 3 Jewish children. They're brought up to hate Jews. They're taught that in the schools. It's the only cause that the Palestinians have is the murder of the Jews. And that Aaron Burnett and all these I shouldn't actually, calling them idiots is in a way, too soft on them. This is a very simple moral choice, and they've made the wrong one.
All right, David, always good to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much. We'll speak to you soon.
Steve. I think this channel is great. I watch it all the time.
Thank you. Appreciate that. David Horowitz, ladies and gentlemen, from the David Horowitz Freedom Center, and editor of Front Page Magazine. And didn't ask him if he's watching on Direct TV 349 or Dish 223 or on NewsmaxTV.com or on his iPhone or on Roku or wherever. Or it doesn't have to be an iPhone, any smartphone. But I'm glad he likes the Newsmax TV channel. We're always glad to hear about that. All right, folks, it is an outrage, and what are you going to do? When Israel's involved, there's a whole nother standard for Israel, and I guess a lesser standard for the terrorists who are sworn to Israel's destruction and just revel in the murdering of innocent civilians on purpose. All right, we're coming back. Don't miss it. More. Give Me 5 is next.
Do you sleep too hot while your partner sleeps too cool? Do you struggle to sleep at the right temperature? Now Sleep Number has a solution that's as revolutionary as its beds. Introducing the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer. The amazing Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer allows both of you to select your ideal temperature for better sleep. The Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer works with any mattress brand. It features Active Air technology, which evenly distributes air to heat and cool each side to the temperature you prefer for head-to-toe comfort. Call or click now for this free $50 savings card and catalog.
My husband and I both prefer different temperatures. He likes to have his side of the bed a little bit warmer, and I like to have mine a little bit cooler, and we are finally sleeping better together.
After sleeping on a dual temp layer, I find that I have such a restful night's sleep that when I wake up in the morning, I am energized and I'm ready for the day.
All night long, you can each enjoy sleep at a temperature that perfectly matches what your body needs for comfortable sleep, so you can sleep better together. In a research study, 75% reported poor sleep because of their sleeping temperature. That's because your body's temperature naturally fluctuates at night. But with the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer, you can sleep comfortably warm or cool. And because the revolutionary Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer helps solve an important sleep problem, it was selected as a very innovative product by Good Housekeeping. Remember, the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer can be added to any mattress brand, so everyone can enjoy sleeping better at the perfect temperature. Call or click now.
Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now for a free $50 savings card and catalog with price list. For your peace of mind, the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer comes with a 100-night in-home trial. Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now. That's 1-800-317-5283 for your free $50 savings card and catalog.
Hi, I'm Mike Reagan. If you think the worst of Obamacare is behind us, think again. Soon, its new rules will affect every business, every insured person, and every Medicare recipient. That's why you need to protect yourself, your family, and your business with the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's easy to read, the fastest way for you to understand this law. The Obamacare Survival Guide gives you the tips, loopholes, and strategies you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need to get the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's a #1 New York Times bestseller, and already more than 500,000 Americans have gotten their copy. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. The Obamacare Survival Guide is at bookstores everywhere, or get Newsmax's $4.95 special offer and save $15 off the cover price. Just go online now or call us today.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs, just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Peggy Joseph took her daughter out of school early Wednesday for this. Her emotions ran high following Obama's speech.
It was the most memorable time of my life. It was a touching moment because I never thought this day would ever happen. I won't have to worry about putting gas in my car. I won't have to worry about paying my mortgage. You know, if I help him, he's going to help me.
All right, welcome to Give Me Five, folks. So whatever happened to that woman? Is she still in love with Barack Obama? Did Barack Obama ever pay her mortgage? Or did, in fact, she have to pay her own mortgage? And has she been able to pay her own mortgage? Don't forget, that was 2008. We're now in 2014. And Barack Obama still has 2.5 years to go. What does she think of him now? Well, there's a documentary that is now out there. We'll explain, but I want you to watch this.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Are you Peggy Joseph?
Yes, I am.
I have a present for you. I brought you some ruby slippers.
Slippers?
Yes.
I didn't order any slippers.
I know. Well, I'm making a documentary. I'd like to talk to you. Do you mind?
Joel Gilbert, there's no place like Utopia. So he was bringing Dorothy, if you will, the ruby slippers. Wait till you hear what she thinks of Barack Obama now. Again, African American. She was seen all over the world. That clip went viral. Obama's going to pay my mortgage. She was all choked up. She was so happy. So how's it working out for you now?
I won't have to worry about putting gas in my car. I won't have to worry about paying my mortgage.
Did Obama pay for your mortgage? And did he pay for your gas?
Absolutely not. Mortgage got worse and prices got higher. During that time, we needed a change, but a change for the better, not for the worse. He had a very big voice, just like the Wizard of Oz.
Just like the Wizard of Oz. Hey, you know, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been watching the show over the past few days, what have I been bringing to you? African American people blasting this president. Yesterday we had one guy saying he's going to go down in history as the worst president ever. No, this wasn't Dick Cheney. This was an African American resident of the city of Chicago. We had a woman in Houston, African American, saying, hey, forget the kids at the border. What about my kids? What about us? Now, again, you've got a mainstream media that's not bringing this to you, but we certainly are bringing this to you. And Peggy is just not happy, as you heard. And now we'll see some more.
The wizard with this little teeny, teeny, tiny man. And I think it's the same thing with Obama. Man behind the curtain. Not who we thought or expected him to be. I was Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. That's how I feel. I was Dorothy. I started getting a little bit more educated about politics and reading more. What I learned is never trust the wizard.
I'm telling you, I think she must have a problem with a black man in the White House. That must be it, right? The liberal media says when Republicans and conservatives and Tea Partiers complain about Obama, it's because they have a problem with a black man in the White House. Eric Holder says there's a lot of racial, overtone and animosity aimed at him and Obama because they're black. So what about this woman? Here's more.
It's within ourselves to have the determination, the courage, and the brains to bring us to our destiny.
Is America still the land of opportunity?
100%. It is. Anything that you want to do or become, you can do it in America.
about Peggy Joseph? She's grown up. She's become educated. And she's become educated out of necessity, because if Obama paid her mortgage and if everything was hunky-dory, if she believed the wizard and what the wizard said had come true, why would she need to educate herself? Why would she need to say, you know, after she scratches her head and says, wait a minute, something's wrong here? It's because there's a lot wrong here. And kudos to her. And that documentary is probably worth seeing. So check it out on the Steve Malzberg Show.
Meet Mary. She loves to shop online with her debit card. And so does Bill, an identity thief who stole Mary's identity, took over her bank accounts, and stole her hard-earned money. Unfortunately, millions of Americans just like you learn all it may take is a little misplaced information to wreak havoc on your life. This is identity theft, and no one helps stop it better than LifeLock. LifeLock offers the most comprehensive identity theft protection available. If Mary had LifeLock's bank account alerts, she may have been notified before it was too late. LifeLock's credit notification service is on the job 24/7. As soon as they detect a threat to your identity within their network, they will alert you, protecting you before the damage is done. LifeLock has the most comprehensive identity theft protection available, guarding your social security number, your money, your credit, even the equity in your home.
My years as a prosecutor taught me that we all need to protect ourselves from crime. In today's world, that includes identity theft. It's a serious problem. We all have to protect ourselves.
While identity theft can't be completely stopped, no one works harder to protect you than LifeLock. You even get a $1 million service guarantee. That's security no one can beat. You have so much to protect and nothing to lose when you call LifeLock right now and get 60 days of identity theft protection risk-free. That's right, 60 days risk-free. Use promo code NOTME. Order now and get this document shredder to keep sensitive documents out of the wrong hands. A $29 value, free. Don't wait until you become the next victim. Call 1-800-918-3128 for 60 days of LifeLock identity theft protection risk-free and get a document shredder free. Use promo code NOTME. Call 1-800-918-3128 now.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. The head of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention spoke to a House panel on Capitol Hill today. The official responded to an incident in June where a bad sample transfer exposed dozens of lab workers to anthrax. CDC Director Thomas Fraden says the agency's mishandling of several potentially deadly lab samples is completely unacceptable. CDC workers lost samples of the H5N1 influenza virus in a separate incident in March. And a senior Hamas official made a statement today saying the militant group is formally rejecting an Egyptian proposal with Israel. Egypt pleaded with Hamas to accept the proposal, asking them to consider the rising death toll in the conflict. A Hamas spokesperson said the proposal did not respond to Palestinian conditions. Hamas continued to fire rockets into Israel while they halted their airstrikes. And U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry addressed the rejected ceasefire plan today. Kerry is urging a legitimate ceasefire so Middle East leaders can get to the real issues. Kerry spoke in Washington, D.C. following a meeting with the Luxembourg Minister of Foreign Affairs. He says his department is doing everything in its power to stop the killings. Time Warner rejected a large takeover bid from Rupert Murdoch today. Murdoch's 21st Century Fox made a $76 billion offer to buy the corporation. The takeover would have seen a merger of two of the world's largest media and entertainment companies. Time Warner says the rejection is better for the company and its stockholders. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, welcome to hour number 2 of the, the Tuesday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show. Jennifer Rubin, columnist and author of the Right Turn blog at the Washington Post, will join us to talk about the terror threat, the war with Israel and Hamas, and much, much more. Noah Rothman, associate editor for hotair.com, and we have a lot to talk about with him, including what the governor of Maryland is up to. You're not going to want to miss that. The road to the White House, another installment. And will Mitt Romney run again? We'll have the former spokesman for Governor Mitt Romney, Ryan Williams, here and talk about a prospective 2016 repeat run for Governor Mitt Romney. You got all that, the aforementioned, as they like to call it. Give me 5 and more, which is the unmentioned, on this hour of the Steve Malzberg Show.
Ready? Fire away.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Yeah.
I think there will be another mass casualty attack against the United States. I don't know when. I think it'll be more devastating with deadlier weapons than the last one on 9/11. I think we have to be prepared for that. And I think we have to play a prominent role in the Middle East, support our friends, oppose our foes, and we've got to be here at home very strong from the standpoint of the military. Barack Obama doesn't believe any of those things, and I'm looking for a candidate on our side that I can support for the Republican nomination.
All right, folks. By the way, it's Wednesday. I inadvertently said it was Tuesday because for some reason my brain froze on Tuesday. Anyway, Jennifer Rubin is here. And welcome, Jennifer. And I say this to you all the time. I love the fact that if I don't log on to the Right Turn blog at thewashingtonpost.com every half hour or so, I'll probably miss one of your great pieces. So one of the last things you wrote was a piece called Terrorism Deniers Exposed, and you talk about the great service that both Dick Cheney and his daughter have done in talking about the threat that we face from terrorism in this country.
Exactly. And one of the things specifically that they did was raise awareness. Frankly, I hadn't heard of it until they mentioned it, of a study that was done at the RAND Corporation, no relation to Rand Paul, but the RAND Corporation, that looked through some 600,000 documents, declassified and unclassified material, and created, in essence, a database of terrorist attacks, terrorist groups. And they have found a huge explosion in the number of these, the potency of these, the territory that is controlled by these, all under Barack Obama. And I think most Americans are not aware of that. And for the president to continually come out and say we've ended wars or Al-Qaeda is on its heels, those are nothing but lies. And I think for us to proceed as if the danger of Al-Qaeda is behind us because it's been so many years since 9/11 is really foolishness. And I think the candidates should and will discuss this 2014, 2016. We really have to relook at our military budget. We have to make sure that we're not tearing down parts of our anti-terrorism architecture that works. And I think we need to get serious about what positions around the world we need to be in, even if we're not in combat, but at least to be able to source information, to get intelligence, and when necessary to use drones. And we can't use that intelligence if we're not there gathering some of it. And that was one of the primary purposes, or primary benefits rather, of having troops in Afghanistan. When we pull out entirely, that's going to go away. And to the extent to which there are plots hatched in both Afghanistan and Pakistan, we're going to be waiting for them to arrive on our shores, I suppose.
Yeah, very, very frightening. And you wrote another great piece about, and it picks up on your colleague Dana Milbank's piece, and it says, yes, Obama's foreign policy could get worse. And that, you know, it's hard to believe, but you make great points in there.
Yeah, it really is frightening. And you don't have to be really too creative to come up with them. It's very easy to see that from this enormous swatch of territory smack dab in the middle of the Middle East that is going to be run now by, in essence, an Al-Qaeda group, that you could have many, many plots, far more serious than 9/11, in part because we've also ignored the spread of chemical weapons throughout Syria. We didn't intervene when we could before the terrorists arrived, and we've done nothing to help rein them in since they got there. So I think we're talking about large territories, large areas around the world where terrorists will have safe haven, where they will be able to make plots, and with, as I just mentioned, the report showing the proliferation of these groups and the weapons and the territory that they have access to, we are living in extremely dangerous times. Moreover, people like Putin, folks like the gang-running China, take advantage of these situations to grab other countries, to grab territories, to pressure our allies around the world.
Well, the administration, claims that Ukraine was a great success. I guess they just wrote off Crimea. Goodbye.
Yeah, there you go. Take a little bit of Crimea. What's next? Lithuania, some of the Baltic states. We have signaled in so many ways that we are so deeply unserious around the globe that I think our allies have really completely lost faith in us. A good example is Egypt, which now no longer relies on the United States, doesn't listen to us, is sort of going out there on its own, funding some Sunni radical groups because they feel completely abandoned by the United States vis-a-vis Iran. Terrible human rights record. We've completely lost influence there. There's the old expression, the guy is a bastard, but at least he was our bastard. Well, that's what we could say about Hosni Mubarak. Now we've got a guy who won't listen to us, and he's more of a bastard than Hosni Mubarak.
Well, and he won't listen to us because after Mubarak, we wanted Morsi, and when they displaced Morsi because he was worse than Mubarak and was wanted to put in Sharia law and was trampling on their constitution, even in the face of that, we still wanted Morsi as part of the process.
Exactly, and Egyptians are convinced, and I would say with very good reason, that we wanted the Muslim Brotherhood in power, that we are allied with the Muslim Brotherhood. That's how crazy our foreign policy has been, that we have convinced an entire country, with good reason, that we are allied with a surrogate of Iran. So our policy is so confused, so haphazard, and really more than anything else is as if the president has ignored this enormous explosion of al-Qaeda. It makes the growth and the emergence of al-Qaeda in the Clinton years pale by comparison. And, Bill Clinton and to a degree George Bush could be forgiven for not foreseeing 9/11 because we really hadn't dealt with something on that scale. Now there is no excuse for it. We've had 9/11. We had 9/11 twice. 9/11 in 2001 and 9/11 in 2012. And we weren't prepared for either of those. So what's going to be the excuse when something horrible happens or another foreign policy tragedy occurs because we're preoccupied elsewhere and people doubt the staying power and the credibility of the United States?
Well, maybe that should be one of the 20 questions, and I didn't read all 20 that you had for Hillary Clinton, but before we get to that, I want to focus on another piece that you wrote about Israel. You talk about the United States leading from behind. You talk about Israel leading from the front in their war with Hamas.
Yeah, about the only people on the planet who are doing anything about Iran and its surrogates is the tiny, itty-bitty little country of Israel. They are taking on Hamas full bore. Hamas, of course, is paid for by Iran, supplied with weapons by Iran, which Israel displayed earlier in the year. There's another Islamist group called Islamist Jihad. It's very nice of them to label themselves so clearly, by the way. Islamist Jihad that operates in Gaza, that's really a completely owned subsidiary of Iran. Israel is taking those people on. They're taking international guff. They're putting their own people at risk in order to defeat Hamas. Moreover, when you get to the big negotiations in Vienna with Iran over nuclear weapons, who believes the American military threat at this point? It's only Israelis' military threat that I think would give Iran pause. So who's the superpower here? Who's taken on Iran? Who's not only defending their own national security, but taking on the security of the West and the United States? It's Israel. This is just bizarre.
And by the way, you point out something that is also bizarre, troubling, bizarre, frightening, and really needs to be paid attention to by all Americans, especially American Jews, and they're 90% Democrats, so they might be in these numbers. You point out that the latest poll numbers show that 73% of Republicans today favor Israel, sympathizing more with Israel than the Palestinians. 73, that's up from 68. And only 44% of Democrats do, which is actually down from April, even though Israel's in a war right now.
It's stunning to me. And, on one level, I think, well, I guess, it's pretty remarkable Nancy Pelosi is as pro-Israel as she has, because her party has turned against Israel. On the other hand, again, I plead with not only my fellow Jews, but with pro-Israel Americans, whatever their religious affiliation, wake up. Which party is going to be more supportive of Israel? Which party is going to put the screws on Israel and which is not? And I think we've had just about the worst president we've ever had vis-a-vis Israel with this president, who followed one of the best presidents vis-a-vis Israel, who was George Bush. So I think it couldn't be more clear. And it's going to notice how quiet, by the way, Hillary Clinton has been because of all this, because she doesn't want to speak up for fear of unnerving her base.
Well, you mentioned, I want to interrupt for time's sake here, you did write a piece about the 20 questions that Hillary needs to answer, and one of them is, should Israel exercise quote-unquote restraint or proceed until Hamas is seriously disabled for a number of years? And I wonder what she would say if someone does ask her that. Maybe, I don't know if Jon Stewart did or not, but I doubt it.
Yeah, exactly. The one question that I forgot to put on this list for the 20 questions for Hillary is, are you kidding? Isn't that the ultimate question? She expects us to believe all this nonsense that comes out of her. How, the Bush administration required us to get out of Iraq at the end of 2011. Nonsense. How our real problem is that we haven't been good at telling our story. She was in office for 4 years. The president has been there for nearly 6 years. If there's any storytelling to be told, it's these people who continually, by the way, run down America whenever they travel around the world.
Absolutely. Jennifer, great to talk to you. And folks, check out WashingtonPost.com, the Right Turn blog. And again, just because you checked it once during the day, oh boy, if you don't go back, you're going to miss all the other great pieces that Jennifer writes on that day. Thank you very much, Jennifer.
Thanks.
My pleasure. Jennifer Rubin, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, let's some of the other 20 questions. Was it a mistake to limit talks with Iran to nukes? How do we lift sanctions so long as Iran's proxies wage war on Israel? Should John Kerry return home and ask for sanctions if there's no deal by July 20th? By the way, they're talking about extending the July 20th deadline because our good friends Iran, they need a little bit more time, All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to be joined by Noah Rothman, associate editor for hotair.com. Don't you miss it.
Hi, I'm Jean, and this is my one and only Henry. We just love scouring flea markets for special treasures. But with my type 2 diabetes, we now spend all the time at the pharmacy. With Medcare, I don't have to. They deliver everything I need right to my door with free shipping. Plus, Medcare takes private policies, Medicaid, even my Medicare. Sleep apnea machines, nebulizers. Medcare has all the finest medical supplies. The best part, Medcare saves us money. Medcare allows us the time to do the things we love. Medcare, we deliver a better life.
Pat Boone here with a word about bank safety. Do you think your money is safe in the bank? Don't bank on it. A generation ago, bank accounts felt secure and they paid interest. This encouraged the virtue of thrift and saving. But today, bank accounts pay virtually nothing, and they've shifted from low risk to high risk. For example, did you know your money deposited in most U.S. banks could be subject to limited withdrawal and even confiscation? Oh yes, and that's just the first of 19 risks explained in a new white paper entitled Don't Bank on It. You still think your bank deposits are safe? You better get this vital new Don't Bank on It white paper now. Call the number on the screen or visit SwissAmerica.com, the gold standard. Learn how simple it is to become your own banker today.
You want to attend college so you can pursue your goals, but you may not be able to afford it. At ITT Tech, we're doing something to put a degree financially within your reach. The new ITT Tech Opportunity Scholarship is now available to eligible students who qualify. We believe education is a sound investment. Make a choice that can make a difference.
Call now to find out about the new Opportunity Scholarship from ITT Tech. 800-453-0319. 800-453-0319.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
There's a certain level of vehemence, it seems to me, that's directed at me, directed at the president. You know, people talk about taking their country back. You know, I can't look into people's hearts, look into people's minds, but it seems to me that this president has been treated differently than others.
Now, Al Sharpton, when you gave that speech, said that he thought it was about race. Those were his words. Are they yours?
Now, there's a certain racial component to this for some people.
I want to take my country back, and it has nothing to do with what color the president is or the attorney general is. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Joining us now is our friend Noah Rothman, associate editor for HotAir.com. And Noah, you know, for the attorney general to keep doing this, and the president, as black Americans, the most highly elected black officials and appointed black officials in the country's history practically here, when I could say with the same certainty as the Attorney General's a very uncertain statement that a number of blacks who voted for Obama did so because they don't like white people. And so what does that mean? What does that prove? What does that show?
Right, and you really don't need a whole lot of evidence to suggest that, to make that assertion, because there are so many caveats in what you said and what Holder said that it's probably true, and you can't really disprove it. It's unfalsifiable. So, and there's, if you read Glenn Thrush's reporting in Politico, it suggests that the president is happy about this and wants Holder to come out and be very racially inflammatory and create the sense that the president is really being subjected to an unprecedented level of hatred from his opponents because of his racial animus and because it supports their electoral prospects. That is just as unfalsifiable and true as it is to say that the president's opponents are motivated by racial hatred.
Yeah, you would really hope that the race baiting from this attorney general and this president would stop, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Let's move on to the governor of the great state of Maryland and the immigration issue. He apparently saying one thing, but in public, and then saying something else in private with regard to sending those who were caught at the border to his backyard.
Yeah, he was speaking to reporters recently, and he went really to the left of the president and to the left of Hillary Clinton on the issue of immigration, saying that these unaccompanied minor children who are crossing the border are coming from hellish places. It would be inhumane to send them back there, and we have to figure out a way to accommodate all these people coming across the border. And it was seen really as going to the left of Hillary Clinton, going to the left of the administration, and creating a bit of a distance from them. And apparently, right after that, about Friday, he was called up by the White House by Celia Munoz, who's the head of this situation over there, who's been really going out in front of this whole immigration crisis on the border, and was lambasted because he doesn't want these minors who need housing to go to a facility in Western Maryland. Now, according to the reports, he said that he was afraid that conservatives were going to harangue these minors coming into it, maybe attack them verbally, maybe even worse. So that was his reasoning for this. But there was a CNN report that was really fascinating, which suggested that this all came out because Clinton's machine and the president's machine are really nervous about a populist left-wing challenge to Hillary in 2016. And O'Malley is running for president. He's going to challenge her. So they really want to stamp out that challenge as soon as they possibly can, and creating the appearance of hypocrisy here, which there obviously is. He really is being a hypocrite on this issue, is really helpful to her political prospects. It just shows how the Clinton ruthlessness has not abated in the last 20 years.
Speaking of Clinton, you wrote a piece at Hot Air talking about this game, this will she run, won't she run? She was on Jon Stewart last night, you know, and all you hear today are, oh, the hints. She dropped a hint, and I agree with you. I think it's becoming very annoying, and I think the longer she goes on, the more she's turning people off.
It's quite tiresome. And Chris Cuomo, also on CNN, had a good observation that she's really setting herself up for a huge anticlimax when she eventually does it.
Well, let me stop you there, and I hate to interrupt you. Do you believe Chris Cuomo has an axe to grind here? I've noticed this a lot. You know, the media has anointed her. We're giving her a free pass. We're her PR people. Do you think that he wants his brother to run, but doesn't, you know, feel that he can, and he's like kind of blaming Hillary deep down for that, and this is his digs at that situation?
I don't know. That's a very interesting theory. I can't really speculate on that, but it makes about as much sense as anything else. He has been pretty critical of the Clinton media strategy at the very least. So yeah, that's as good a theory as any.
Yeah, well, it just dawned on me because, you know, you've heard the name Chris Cuomo so many times, and if Hillary, you know, runs, Chris Cuomo's not going to run, obviously, and then if she does run and win, then even though she'd get up there in age, you presume that Chris Cuomo is done for the next 8 years, and so it could be a problematic, and maybe not Chris, but I'm getting confused. Not Mario, not Chris, but Andrew. Thank you. Anyway, you know who I mean. But yeah, so I don't know when or if she's going to break this cycle and announce, but it is getting kind of annoying. One more. The other day, the non-photo op president, on his way to not going to the border, found time for a photo op in Colorado with the governor of Colorado playing pool and drinking beer. And you wrote about it on Hot Air, this poll out of Colorado that does not bode well for him.
Yeah, there was a Quinnipiac survey, and it really doesn't square with a survey that came out from NBC Marist yesterday. Which suggested that both Colorado Senator Mark Udall and Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper were really pretty secure, below 50%, but well ahead of their Republican opponents. And then a Quinnipiac poll came out today, which shows that John Hickenlooper's opponent, who's a former congressman, hasn't held office since 2007, who's running against him, has almost no name recognition. 43% of people either haven't heard of him or don't have an opinion on him, who knows. But he's still leading Governor Hickenlooper by 1 point, within the margin of error. But that just shows that if voters are prepared to vote for somebody they have no opinion on, just because they're voting against the incumbent, it's a very bad place for the governor to be. Yeah, no, absolutely. Great point. All right, Noah, we'll keep reading you at hotair.com, and we'll speak to you soon, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Noah Rothman, ladies and gentlemen. I got to tell you, that is my theory on Chris Cuomo on CNN, who, by the way, this morning tried to rip a sheriff from, oh boy, Arizona? I'm not exactly sure. Rip him, you know what. He was disrespectful. He was arrogant. He was badgering this sheriff. But the sheriff held his ground. And Cuomo, you know, he claims he plays it right down the middle. Right, sure you do. We're coming back with more.
Now everyone who uses catheters can get a better catheter with Liberator Medical's free catheter sample pack. These new catheters are better than ever, easier to use, more convenient, comfortable, virtually pain-free. Don't wait. Call now and get your free catheter sample pack. There's the all-new compact catheter for women, pre-lubricated, no drips, no mess, fits in your purse. The self-lubricated catheter, it lubricates itself in the package, comfortable, no mess. The closed system catheter, pre-lubricated with its own collection bag, proven to reduce UTIs. The discreet pocket catheter, curved to fit in your pocket to go anywhere. The polished eyelet catheter for micro-smooth comfort, reduces friction and pain. Call now. We'll also bill Medicare and your insurance for you. Call for your free catheter sample pack with free shipping. Call Liberator Medical.
Call 1-800-344-6777. That's 1-800-344-6777.
Hey, when Bob got into the accident, I was terrified. His injuries were so severe, but once we knew he was going to be okay, what then?
I couldn't go back to work for a long time, and we got way behind on our bills.
We had hired an attorney, but when our case kept dragging on, we didn't know how we were going to get by. Thankfully, our attorney knew about Oasis Legal Finance.
Oasis looked at our case and got us the money the very next day.
What a relief it was. We didn't have to wait until our case settled, and the money from Oasis helped us when we needed it most.
At first, I wasn't so sure. What if we lost the case? How would we be able to pay back Oasis? But then I found out if we did lose, we wouldn't have to pay them back, so there was no risk in doing it. No risk.
If you were involved in an accident and hired an attorney to fight for the compensation you deserve but need money now before your case settles, then call Oasis today. Oasis has given millions of dollars to people like you who need money fast while waiting for their case to settle. There's no risk, so call now.
I was hurt badly in a car accident just after my wife gave birth. We were counting on the cash from my lawsuit to get caught up, but the case took forever.
Honestly, we didn't know what we were going to do. Then we saw an Oasis TV commercial and called. We were approved and got money from Oasis the next day.
Not in a week, the very next day.
I was hurt at work and filed a workers' comp claim. I called Oasis and they gave me the cash I needed. Unfortunately, I ended up losing my case, but Oasis let us keep the money. They kept their promise and we didn't need to pay them back.
There are no out-of-pocket costs and no payments until your case is settled. If you lose your case, you don't have to repay Oasis. There's no risk. Call Oasis now to see how much money you can get before your case settles.
Call now, 1-800-562-8184. 1-800-562-8184. 1-800-562-8184.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. Funerals for 6 members of a suburban Texas family slain by a gunman were held today. 4 of the 6 victims were young children. 33-year-old suspect Ronald Lee Haskell is facing multiple charges of capital murder of his ex-wife's family. Records show Haskell has a history of domestic violence. And a Northern California wildfire threatens dozens of homes and residents. Authorities are blaming the fire on a marijuana growing activity in the area. Some nearby residents are under mandatory evacuation order. The fire began on Friday and has already destroyed 8 homes and 10 other structures. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, we have some breaking news to tell you about. Reportedly, the Israeli government has agreed to a temporary ceasefire to take place tomorrow at the request of the United Nations. The United Nations seeking what they're calling a humanitarian timeout for 6 hours so that they can tend to people's needs, etc., restock people's food and water, whatever they could do, bring supplies in and that kind of thing. So Israel has agreed to that. Be interesting to see if while they've agreed or while they're participating in that 6 hour or so ceasefire, how many rockets fly out of that very Gaza Strip into Israel with the intent of killing innocent civilians. We shall see. But again, reportedly Israel agreeing to a temporary ceasefire to take place tomorrow so the UN could get humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip to help the civilians there. Not many countries would do something like that. Not many countries warn people before they drop bombs, telling people to get out, saying, calling them on the phone and saying, we're going to bomb over there, you better get out. Not many people. But then again, not many governments wouldn't give their people a place to go. Not many areas, not many governments that have tunnels to the tune of 1,000 or more wouldn't use that for bomb shelters for their people. Rather, they use it for supply huts for their rockets and their ammunition and their bomb launchers and their terrorist leaders. But that's the difference between the Israeli people and the Palestinian people and the Hamas-run Gaza Strip. And let me remind you, when you talk about and you hear the Palestinian supporters talk about free Palestine, the occupation must end. Gaza is not occupied. The Gaza Strip was given to the Palestinians. They took it from Egypt. Egypt didn't want it. So, that's one of those lands that was supposedly given back to the Palestinians. The way they want the West Bank back, but that was taken from Jordan. The Golan Heights, of course, was taken from Syria. The whole Gaza, was taken from Egypt. So, learn your history, all you people out there who tweet out hashtag Palestinian freedom and Palestinian sovereignty and pro-Palestinian and Palestine. Understand what you're talking about. You don't know history. And we'll see how many rockets go from Gaza into Israel while Israel acquiesces to a United Nations request. Breaking news as we speak. Reportedly, Israel agreeing to a ceasefire for about 6 hours tomorrow so the United Nations could get in there with humanitarian aid to the Palestinians. Okay? Will they get credit for that? No. No. Because the tote board says 200 Palestinians killed and only 1 Israeli. Something's wrong with that. We need to even it out. That's what the media won't say, but that's what the media would love to see. Anyway, we'll be back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show, The Road to the White House. But first, here's Dr. Chauncey Crandall with some cholesterol tips and lowering your blood pressure.
Hello, I'm back this week with this very important question. Is your doctor taking your blood pressure correctly? You may assume so, but a new study shows you may be wrong. According to this new research, doctors often cut corners when taking blood pressure and record readings that may be much too high. This is important information. First, if your blood pressure reading is wrong, you could be misdiagnosed with high blood pressure and put on powerful drugs for the rest of your life. You could also be denied health insurance and your job may even be put in jeopardy. This is important information, so pay close attention. Number 1, is your doctor using the right size blood pressure cuff? Cuffs come in 2 different sizes, average and large, but too often only the average size cuff is even used, even on the person with a larger forearm. If the cuff is too tight, the reading will be too high. Number 2, is your blood pressure taken in both of your arms? Doctors are taught that this is not mandatory, but it should be. Even a small difference between the 2 pressure readings can mean you are at great risk of suffering from a stroke or even dying of heart disease. And number 3, is your blood pressure taken when you are seated on the examining table with your legs dangling in the air? If so, your reading may be 10 points too high. You should be seated in the chair with your feet on the floor and your legs apart and relaxed. Don't cross your legs at either the knees or the ankles. Remember, if your doctor doesn't take your blood pressure the correct way, you could be putting your health at risk. Many of you already have my book, The Simple Heart Cure. So if you do, you can read all about high blood pressure in Chapter 8. That's my health tip for this week. I'll see you next week with another important Heart Health Minute.
Get your copy of Dr. Crandall's best-selling book, The Simple Heart Cure, for just $4.95 with this special offer. Go to www.simpleheartbook.com to get your copy today. That's simpleheartbook.com.
Do you sleep too hot while your partner sleeps too cool? Do you struggle to sleep at the right temperature? Now Sleep Number has a solution that's as revolutionary as its beds. Introducing the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer. The amazing Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer allows both of you to select your ideal temperature for better sleep. The Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer works with any mattress brand. It features Active Air technology, which evenly distributes air to heat and cool each side to the temperature you prefer for head-to-toe comfort. Call or click now for this free $50 savings card and catalog.
My husband and I both prefer different temperatures. He likes to have his side of the bed a little bit warmer, and I like to have mine a little bit cooler, and we are finally sleeping better together.
After sleeping on a dual temp layer, I find that I have such a restful night's sleep that when I wake up in the morning, I am energized and I'm ready for the day.
All night long, you can each enjoy sleep at a temperature that perfectly matches what your body needs for comfortable sleep, so you can sleep better together. In a research study, 75% reported poor sleep because of their sleeping temperature. That's because your body's temperature naturally fluctuates at night. But with the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer, you can sleep comfortably warm or cool. And because the revolutionary Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer helps solve an important sleep problem, it was selected as a very innovative product by Good Housekeeping. Remember, the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer can be added to any mattress brand, so everyone can enjoy sleeping better at the perfect temperature. Call or click now.
Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now for a free $50 savings card and catalog with price list. For your peace of mind, the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer comes with a 100-night in-home trial. Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now. That's 1-800-317-5283 for your free $50 savings card and catalog.
35 years ago, fly the Atlantic. Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? We choose to go to the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Politics, commentary, entertainment, sports, news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
I think Mitt Romney, in his head, he looks at these polls that show him beating the president right now. If there were another election, there won't be, that he really wants to run for president again. What do you think? What would you advise him?
I think he actually is going to run for president. He probably doesn't want me to say that. 100 times he says he's not. But Mitt Romney has always accomplished what he set out to do. I think he's proven right on a lot of stuff. I happen to be in the camp that thinks that he's actually going to run, and I think he will be the next president of the United States.
All right. All right, folks, there you go. Welcome to the road to the White House. Our installment today surrounds, guess who? Yeah, you should be able to guess based on that video from Congressman Jason Chaffetz that it's a possible Mitt Romney rerun, if you will, running for the presidential nomination from the Republican side. Will he run? Well, there you heard Jason Chaffetz say he thinks that despite denials by Romney, he will. Now let's listen to one of those denials from Governor Romney, and then we'll be joined by our guest. All right, you'll have to take my word for it, ladies and gentlemen. Mitt Romney has denied it over and over and over again. And joining us now is Ryan Williams, Senior Vice President of FP1 Strategies and former spokesman for Governor Mitt Romney. Hello, Ryan.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Well, my pleasure. Thanks for doing this. Okay, so, you know, we've heard over and over from Governor Romney that he's not going to run, if I'm characterizing it correctly. If it's, you know, and I think he's above what I, you know, refer to as Clinton speak, that you have to parse the words and see exactly what he's saying. He impressed me as someone who, you know, has done it and been there and put his family through it and really is not going to run anymore. Am I accurate in my assessment or not?
No, I think you're totally correct. He's saying not run.
All right. The problem is I'm not hearing Ryan Williams, so I don't know. We're having some technical difficulties, folks, with a whole bunch of things. Let's try to see if I could hear Ryan right now. No? Okay, we can't. All right. So. Okay, we do. All right, Ryan, I'm sorry we had some technical difficulties, and thanks for bearing with us. So you believe that my assessment is correct, that he's not planning on running and will, in fact, not run. Is that correct?
That's correct. Governor Romney's been very clear that he is not planning on making a third run for president. He's done it twice before. He's put his family through this process. There are a number of people who really want to run again because many of the things he said during the 2012 election, many of the warnings about Russia and Mali and about the rise of the caliphate have all come true. But he has been very clear that he does not want to run again because he's Republican leaders to pick up that bill.
Now, it's got to be encouraging for him, though, when he sees the poll that was out the other day that if the election, and I think this is the second such poll, that if the election were held today, more people would vote, held again today, more people would vote for Mitt Romney than for Barack Obama in another matchup. So that's got to give, I can understand how that would give someone like the governor a kind of a nudge, or kind of put the bug in him, if it's not already in him, to say, I could do this if I try again.
Well, I think there's no question that if Governor Romney ran again, he'd be a strong candidate. He just doesn't want to do it. Obviously, there are a number of people who are having buyer's remorse after the way the second-term Obama administration has turned out. An utter failure on health care, unable to manage foreign affairs, unable to control scandals at the IRS and elsewhere. So there's a lot of buyer's remorse. It's good to see, obviously, that people realize that what Governor Romney said, 2012, much of it came true, even though he was mocked by Democrats when he warned about Putin's antics in Russia and other things. So it's good to see that, but Governor Romney just has made it very clear he does not want to seek a third run at the presidency.
Now, I think if he were the candidate, I think he would have an excellent chance against Hillary or whoever, Elizabeth Warren or Governor O'Malley, whoever the heck they put up on the left. But let's talk about seeking, and again, for argument's sake here, I'm pretty sure he's not going to run. Also, you know better than me, and you seem to agree. But let's just say if he chose to seek the Republican nomination, obviously it's not a coronation, and he would have to go through the whole process again. Would the Republican voters be willing to give him another pick someone else?
Well, I mean, obviously, you'd have to see how that race would shape up. But Governor Romney would be a very strong candidate if he did seek the nomination again, which I don't think he will. He's obviously very well known. People like him. His numbers, favorability numbers, are very good. The donor community likes him. But I really think, he's been clear that that's just not something he wants to do. There are a number of very qualified people who are actively starting the 2016 campaign. People like Marco Rubio, Governor Christie, Rand Paul, Paul Ryan, and others. And he wouldn't want to get in a situation where he was competing with them, because he feels that he's done this twice, he's had his chance, didn't work out, and it's just time for him to do something else in life and move on.
Do you think that that the next Republican candidate or nominee will have learned anything from some of the failures in the Romney campaign, or some of the things that learned from some of the things that the Romney campaign had to deal with? For instance, the media coverage. You recall, I'm sure, better than I. Everything he said was a gaffe. It was a campaign of gaffes. He was in Ireland, if my memory serves me correct, and somebody actually shouted out, "Governor, what do you think about the latest gaffe?" I mean, it was just pathetic, but that's the way it was. Should he have fought back against the media more vehemently? Should he have taken a little bit of what Newt Gingrich offered in some of the primary debates, where he went after some of the reporters for their foolish questions? And will the next candidate learn from what Romney maybe didn't do?
Well, hindsight's certainly 20/20, and we would have wished we did things differently. Obviously, we didn't win the election. Each campaign is going to be different. The atmosphere in which a candidate runs for president now can best be compared to a freak show. Constant Twitter, constant attacks from all sides, and just a white-hot light being shined on anybody who seeks the presidency. So it's a very strange process. Obviously we would have done differently, but I hope that some of these candidates can learn from some of our mistakes and successes. But that being said, there really is no experience like going through it. Governor Romney was a wiser candidate the second time around than the first time, having gone through the process before. And really none of these candidates this time around, save for perhaps Rick Perry, have been through the rigors of a presidential contest. So hopefully they can learn from it, but it really is an experience that you have to go through to understand how really trying it is and how much of just a terrible process it is to become our president.
If he were to run again fictitiously, and that's the purpose of this segment, the 47% comment, the wealth issue. The Democrats, since that last campaign, have really driven home, you know, the income disparity and women making less, and you know, these fictitious arguments and really issues that are just designed to be demagogued, and they demagogue them so well. Would this be something that the governor would have to face again, or something that he could, you know, somehow easily, more or less, overcome this time around?
I'm sure they would try to recycle the same tired playbook, but I think people have seen since the election that Governor Romney would, you know, he's a good person. That movie that came out really showed him as the kind of person he really is, the documentary, not the caricature the Democrats painted. And it will be very hard for Democrats this time because their standard bearer is likely going to be Hillary Clinton, who is crying poverty over having to pay 2 mortgages on multi-million-dollar mansions, claiming that she was dead broke when she had $10 million book deals lined up. She is the epitome of elitism and being out of touch. He's been driven around by Secret Service agents for 30 years now. So it will be very difficult with Hillary Clinton at the top of the ticket for Democrats to wage the typical class warfare campaigns they do, given that she is such an elitist, you know, one percenter, if you will.
And one final question for you. If he does not run, and you believe he will at least seek to play an active role, if wanted, in campaigning for whoever the nominee might be?
Absolutely. Governor Romney's been very active in the 2014 process for Senate congressional races. He's made 33 endorsements. All of those candidates have won their primaries, and he's, I think, looking to be a part of the process and to help good conservative candidates get elected.
All right, Ryan, pleasure to talk to you, sir. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Thanks for putting up with us, and appreciate it. We'll speak to you again, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Ryan Williams, ladies and gentlemen, Senior Vice President of FP1 Strategies and former spokesman for Governor Mitt Romney. And it will be very interesting. It's got to be hard. You know, you think you could win, and the bitter, don't forget the bitter disappointment. Don't forget the tears in that room that night in the suite. I mean, they thought they were going to win. They were told they were going to win. And it still boggles my mind that the turnout was so great in the areas that were needed for Barack Obama to emerge victorious. I didn't think it could be matched what he did the first time around, and somehow, miraculously, it was. All right, we shall see. Tomorrow, yet another installment of The Road to the White House. Same time right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Give Me 5 is next.
I'm at St. Jude because I had a cancer inside of me. They diagnosed me with a brain tumor. You have to be strong and don't give up. Attitude is everything. You have to fight.
Imagine your doctor tells you your child has cancer with only months to live. Where would you go? What would you do? Who would you turn to? Fortunately, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is fighting every day to save children's lives. And with a gift of just $19 a month, you can join the fight.
This is my kid that they're giving back to me. I am so grateful.
At St. Jude, no family ever receives a bill. In fact, no family pays St. Jude for anything. That's why your gift of $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, is so important.
When I thought that I might lose my son, they gave me hope.
You are not only saving a child's life, you're breathing life back into that family.
If I hadn't come here, I wouldn't have my son.
St. Jude's life-saving research and treatment is shared freely with hospitals around the world.
St. Jude gives you hope and happiness. They're helping us live. Maybe in the future, kids won't have to go through this. We'll find a cure and it'll all be over.
Please, call and become a St. Jude Partner in Hope right now.
Help! Someone, please help me!
When you fall and cannot get up, an accident can turn into a tragedy. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
This is Life Alert. Are you okay? I'm calling for help right now.
Life Alert saves a life from a catastrophe every 10 minutes.
Thanks to Life Alert, I can have peace of mind and continue my independence.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-896-9904. That's 1-800-896-9904. Call now at 1-800-896-9904 to get a free brochure. 1-800-896-9904.
Time to wake up.
I've got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
Don't forget, you've got a job to do today.
Hey, Mom. I got the job. Thanks.
I've got the job. Welcome aboard.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs right in your community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does. And like that, you're a job creator.
The story basically says right at the top that, quote, U.S. global power seems increasingly tenuous to deal with all these challenges. So my question is, how does the White House react to the notion that the president is a bystander to all these crises?
All right, folks, Ed Henry, and welcome to Gimme 5, asking the White House spokesman yesterday to react to the reality of the world, where the White House insists that the tranquility of the global community has never been better. There's never been more tranquility in the global community. And Ed Henry, it lists off one after the other, after the other, after the other. Events going on around the world. You don't have to be a genius. You just need to put on the TV, which I know the president's good at doing. That's how he finds out about most of the things that are troubling the world, right? He finds out like you and I on the television. And it's one hotspot danger zone after the next hotspot danger zone. So how does Josh Earnest explain this? How does he reconcile that the world is on fire and yet the White House claims that global tranquility is at an all-time high? Listen.
I think that there have been a number of situations in which you've seen this administration intervene in a meaningful way that has substantially furthered American interests and substantially improved the tranquility of the global community.
Yeah, Barack Obama has improved the tranquility of the global community. Forget Libya, forget Egypt, forget what's going on now in Iraq, forget Boko Haram, which we just found out recently has killed over 2,500 people. Obviously forget the war in the Middle East between Hamas and Israel. Forget that we're supporting Hamas as part of a unity government with the Palestinian Authority. Forget Ukraine. They'll tell you that that was a great success. Forget Crimea. Who needs it anyway? Give it to Putin. Yeah, I'll tell you, there's more tranquility. Germany just kicked out our CIA chief, or the top equivalent in the country, because they're ticked at us. But global tranquility has never been better. Again, the grass is blue, the sky is green. That's what they'll have you believe. And if you don't buy that, something is wrong with you. More.
Attorney General Eric Holder came out and he said that the inflow of Westerners into the civil war in Syria is, quote, the most frightening thing, more frightening than anything I have seen as Attorney General. You had the foreign policy experts in the Wall Street Journal talk about how
They're not exactly an impartial source, though.
A terrorist group. What's the front page of the Wall Street Journal? This was not a partisan. These were not just partisan foreign policy experts.
I forgot Syria. Thank you for reminding me about Syria. And you see, attack the messenger. Oh, well, you see, Jonathan Karl, Wall Street Journal. We know where they're coming from. It's insane. More.
I think that you see a wide range of people looking at basically an all-out war, what's looking like an all-out war in Israel and the Palestinian territories. You see the situation with the terrorist group taking over vast territory in Iraq and in Syria. You see Russian aggression in Ukraine. You see concerns about Chinese aggression in the South China Sea. It doesn't seem like a time to be touting tranquility on the international scene. I mean, do you think the president's foreign policy bears any responsibility for any of this, or there's anything that he can do about any of this?
Good question, Jonathan, but how dare you, by the way, how dare you ask these questions? You got a problem with the black man in the White House? Here's Mr. Ernest. Here's the answer.
I think what the president has been really clear about is that he will allow one core principle to guide his thinking about what we can do to advance U.S. interests in each of these hotspots that you've mentioned. And that's the national security interests of the United States of America. There is an important role for the United States to play. The U.S. influence continues to be important to resolving so many of the situations that you cited.
All right, look, what could I say? That's a non-answer to a very legitimate, very serious, very pressing set of questions on the part of Jonathan Karl. But what do you expect? It's the Obama White House on the Steve Malzberg Show.
Meet Mary. She loves to shop online with her debit card. And so does Bill, an identity thief who stole Mary's identity, took over her bank accounts, and stole her hard-earned money. Unfortunately, millions of Americans just like you learn all it may take is a little misplaced information to wreak havoc on your life. This is identity theft, and no one helps stop it better than LifeLock. LifeLock offers the most comprehensive identity theft protection available. If Mary had LifeLock's bank account alerts, she may have been notified before it was too late. LifeLock's credit notification service is on the job 24/7. As soon as they detect a threat to your identity within their network, they will alert you, protecting you before the damage is done. LifeLock has the most comprehensive identity theft protection available, guarding your social security number, your money, your credit, even the equity in your home.
My years as a prosecutor taught me that we all need to protect ourselves from crime. In today's world, that includes identity theft. It's a serious problem. We all have to protect ourselves.
While identity theft can't be completely stopped, no one works harder to protect you than LifeLock. You even get a $1 million service guarantee. That's security no one can beat. You have so much to protect and nothing to lose when you call LifeLock right now and get 60 days of identity theft protection risk-free. That's right, 60 days risk-free. Use promo code NOTME. Order now and get this document shredder to keep sensitive documents out of the wrong hands. A $29 value, free. Don't wait until you become the next victim. Call 1-800-918-3128 for 60 days of LifeLock identity theft protection risk-free and get a document shredder free. Use promo code NOTME. Call 1-800-918-3128 now.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. Veterans Affairs continue trying to recover from a slew of scandals. Acting VA Secretary Sloan Gibson spoke to lawmakers on Capitol Hill earlier. Gibson says the VA is working to regain the trust of veterans and all Americans. The acting secretary noted a number of actions like the organization is taking, including an updated system for measuring patient satisfaction. The agency is requesting $17.6 billion for repairs. And U.S.-German relations continue taking some hits. A German government spokesman reports fundamental differences of opinion between German Chancellor Angela Merkel and President Obama on the spying scandal. As the two spoke over the phone earlier today, Germany says further talks are needed to settle the issue. This was the first conversation between the leaders since the two Germans were found spying on the country for the US. And Syrian President Bashar al-Assad was sworn in for his third term today, declaring it a victory for the Syrian people. Assad presides over a bloody civil war that has crippled the Arab state. In his address to the Syrian people, Assad slammed the US-backed moderate rebel faction his regime is fighting against, saying his supporters are the real rebels. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, final hour of today's big Steve Malzberg Show, and he's making his return. Charles Hurt, columnist for the Washington Times, will be here to kick off the hour. Then Tom Rogan from the UK Telegraph and National Review, and we will discuss the rise of anti-Semitism in protests to the Israeli war with Hamas all across Central Europe. Bill Donahue, president of the Catholic League. He'll be talking about what Pope Francis had to say about the U.S., xenophobia, and the illegal immigrant children entering our southern border. All that, give me 5, and more on this hour of the Steve Malzberg Show.
Ready? Fire away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
But the American people have to demand that folks in Washington do their job. Do something. That's my big motto for Congress right now. Just do something. And if they don't like the transportation plan that I put forward, at least come up with your own plan, and then we can compromise. But don't just sit there and do nothing. We don't have time. America's on the move.
I can't help but laugh. America's on the move. Yeah, there you go. Joining us now, folks, is Charles Hurt, columnist for the Washington Times. Good to talk to you again, Charles.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
I'm on the move, apparently. With you and me,
move.
We're all
That's
on the move. All right, you wrote a great piece today at the Washington Times, and you're talking about that now that we're all invested in this Obamacare fiasco, it's your business. We're paying for everybody else's health care, so now every time you see some guy on a motorcycle, et cetera, you're worried that he's safe, because otherwise we're going to be paying for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I've never been somebody who or at least I've tried to never be somebody who moralizes and gets all worried about what other people do in their own private lives. It's just not something that concerns me. I've got too many interesting things sort of in my own life to worry about. But now suddenly, because of this Obamacare thing, we are forced into, as these people say, we're being forced into their bedrooms and forced into their bathrooms because we're suddenly paying for all this stuff. And there's no better example than this example with the Hobby Lobby, where I think of myself as being a fairly humble guy when it comes to things like contraception. I certainly don't know the answers. I'm not God. I'm not Christ. I don't understand these things, but I do know that when I'm suddenly going to have to start paying for all of it, then suddenly I have to become an expert on it, and I really don't like that. And I kind of liked it back when I didn't have to be an expert on these things.
Yeah, no, we are in a whole different sphere here, and it's a dangerous sphere as well, because under the guise of we all have to pay for it, and this has been going on for quite some time from the likes of the Mayor Bloombergs of the world. Because we all have to pay for it. If you get diabetes, you can't do this. And because we all have to pay for it, and you brought up the motorcycle rider at the end, I've always been against, in the past, forcing people to put on motorcycle helmets. I figure if they kill themselves and they want to kill themselves and risk it, what do I care? But you're right, now we got to pay for it. But that's the argument they make to clamp down on us and take away our freedoms and dictate what we do.
Yeah, and of course, the second you step in there and pay for someone else's hazardous behavior, for dangerous behavior that puts themselves at peril, well, what are you doing? It's simple, basic logic or economics. You are thereby encouraging them to do this. And the second you encourage people to do things like that, then when they get maimed or killed, it's sort of a little bit on your hands. But the notion of moral hazard with these people, by these people I mean President Obama and the Democrats and the people that support all of this nonsense, they have no concept of it. And you look no further than the border. You legalize all the illegal children in the country, and you know what happens? Lots of children come unaccompanied to the border, and then you see a lot of them dying. Why is it that these people think that they somehow like these people more than you and I do? We don't want to see them dying, crawling across the desert, and yet they have no problem with it, and or maybe they just ignore it and pretend it doesn't happen. I don't know how. Honestly, I don't know how they go to bed at night. I would be so heartbroken if I had known that my policies had encouraged these children to take on this dangerous trek where they get raped and murdered or die horrible, painful, slow deaths.
Do you think the president's fooling anybody anymore? I mean, I have never seen, you and I haven't talked in about maybe 3 weeks. I have never seen a man appear so, I guess, disinterested. He's given up. He's speaking totally off the top of his head, and it's always the same thing. Me, I, poor me. They're doing things to me they've never done to anybody else. I guess they don't like me. Yeah, they're going to sue me. Yeah. I mean, it's I don't even know what it is. It's not even like a candidate, the never-ending campaign. It's worse than that. It's a pity me tour, and it's just beneath the presidency, in my view.
Yeah, it's funny because 2 weeks ago I checked out to go take my children shark fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. We had a very nice time. I checked out about 50%, and I have to say, Steve, coming back and sort of dialing back into to all this stuff and listening to the president after having tried my best for 2 weeks to not listen to him, it really is. I think you're onto something there. It's like something has turned, and he's reached a level of patheticness that we didn't see before, and in a way, I'm almost starting to. You kind of feel sorry for him because I've long ago decided that he certainly doesn't know what he's doing, but now I'm sort of wondering if not only does he not know what he's doing and never knew what he was getting into, but that he also is kind of so out of it that he doesn't even realize that he doesn't realize that that he is this far out of his depth. And he just thinks that, oh, well, they're giving me a hard time, so therefore, it must be because, they're treating me differently than everybody else. When you're like, no.
Right, and of course, Eric Holder perpetuating that myth. And as I said to others on this show today, for the Attorney General of the United States to keep bringing this up, that some of the animus towards Barack Obama and towards him is race-based. Well, I could state with certainty, almost total certainty, that some blacks who didn't vote for Mitt Romney or John McCain did so because of racial animus towards whites. Now, whether that's one person or a million, that's a true statement. So what does that mean?
And also, in addition to that, Steve, I bet there are, I'm certain, I know for a fact that there are blacks who voted for President Obama because he was black.
Right.
And I have to say, I understand that. I remember, it was with great pride in 2008 that notwithstanding the fact that I didn't agree with him on policy positions, I was proud that a black politician managed to get into the White House. I was proud of that, and I know that. But that, so what? What difference does that make? I mean, that doesn't mean anything. And for them to dwell on this stuff now, when actually this presidency could have been such an extraordinary racial healing, a unifying thing in this country. The idea that 6 years into it, you got somebody like Eric Holder who really, there's just something nasty about him. The idea that he's sitting there still fomenting all this stuff and promulgating it, it really, I thought that we were going to make strides of putting this behind us.
No, there's nothing about putting it behind us in rules for radicals, Charles. So that's not going to happen. Now, but what's interesting, and you see this posted on the Drudge Report every single day, more and more and more of these stories from more cities around the country where African Americans are now speaking out against this president, spurred on by the border situation and the president's wanting $4 billion to solve it, or in his view solve it. And now you got African Americans who are twice the number of unemployed compared to whites, who are, education still stinks in this country. You name it. Crime is out of control in Chicago and other major cities. And they're saying out loud, this president stinks. What about us?
Yeah. And then the idea that this administration is going to spend literally billions of dollars in order to deal with this in order to placate the crisis on the border, and the efforts that they're going to in order to find housing and in some cases luxurious housing for these illegals who do not belong in this country. The idea that he would do that, understandably, upsets a lot of people, a lot of his traditional supporters, and you saw it with Martin O'Malley. He was condemning the White House for suggesting that the illegal children would be sent home, and then he does an about face very quickly when the president says, "Okay, great, we'll put some in Maryland," which has to be probably the single most concentrated Democratic state in the country. Yep. And suddenly they're like, "No, we don't want them," and because this is something that is going to hurt Democrats just as it would hurt Republicans if they were to pull a stunt like that.
Absolutely. By the way, the president's going to speak any minute. He's going to make remarks about increased sanctions against Russia, which I don't really understand, because I thought Ukraine was a great success. We were told by this administration not too long ago. So I'm all confused about that. Did you catch the All-Star game at all last night?
I did, and I was, and I have to say I've always had a soft spot for Derek Jeter, and I thought that all that kerfuffle about Adam Wainwright saying that
he laid one into him,
I don't know what to make of that. I'm choosing to believe that when Adam said he was just kind of pulling.
Well, it's like
leg.
I heard some people say today, whether he threw one down there or not, you still got to hit it, and he certainly didn't lob one into Cabrera or to Trout, and they creamed him. So let's give Derek the benefit of the doubt. And by the way, just so you know, I had Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Sr. sitting with me at the beginning of the show. He's got a great new book out, and we had a great baseball talk. And he won the MVP for the All-Star game back in 1980. So it was kind of interesting. But hey, Charles, welcome back. Great to talk to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, Charles Hurt, ladies and gentlemen, of the Washington Times. When we come back, we're going to talk to Tom Rogan about the protests against Israel in places like France and Germany, and you name it, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, only on Newsmax Television.
Do you sleep too hot while your partner sleeps too cool? Do you struggle to sleep at the right temperature? Now Sleep Number has a solution that's as revolutionary as its beds. Introducing the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer. The amazing Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer allows both of you to select your ideal temperature for better sleep. The Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer works with any mattress brand. It features Active Air technology, which evenly distributes air to heat and cool each side to the temperature you prefer for head-to-toe comfort. Call or click now for this free $50 savings card and catalog.
My husband and I both prefer different temperatures. He likes to have his side of the bed a little bit warmer, and I like to have mine a little bit cooler, and we are finally sleeping better together.
After sleeping on a dual temp layer, I find that I have such a restful night's sleep that when I wake up in the morning, I am energized and I'm ready for the day.
All night long, you can each enjoy sleep at a temperature that perfectly matches what your body needs for comfortable sleep, so you can sleep better together. In a research study, 75% reported poor sleep because of their sleeping temperature. That's because your body's temperature naturally fluctuates at night. But with the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer, you can sleep comfortably warm or cool. And because the revolutionary Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer helps solve an important sleep problem, it was selected as a very innovative product by Good Housekeeping. Remember, the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer can be added to any mattress brand, so everyone can enjoy sleeping better at the perfect temperature. Call or click now.
Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now for a free $50 savings card and catalog with price list. For your peace of mind, the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer comes with a 100-night in-home trial. Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now. That's 1-800-317-5283 for your free $50 savings card and catalog.
If you're one of the 15 million Americans with food allergies, you might feel anxious about dining out, but you don't have to be. Visit safeair.org for more information and resources to help you enjoy a safer restaurant experience.
A public service message from Food Allergy Research and Education.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, that's just a little sampling, a little inkling, a little taste of what's going on in Europe. You got France and Paris and Germany, and Stephen Hawking, for crying out loud, is out against Israel. Rihanna tweets out, long live Palestine, or hashtag save Palestine, or something like that, and then erases it after she felt the heat. Joining us now to talk about what the heck is going on around the world is Tom Rogan, columnist for the UK Telegraph and National Review. Hey, Tom, welcome back. I mean, you would think that Israel, the only democracy in the region, wasn't under attack by a devout, well-known, widely accepted terrorist group. It seems like the world is supporting this terrorist group.
Well, you would think, and think is the operative word here, because when it comes to Europe, when it comes to many capitals around the world, thinking is not something that defines the dialogue over Israel. Growing up in Europe, I would frequently see, the protests that would spark this casual sympathy for Hamas, this fashionable Che Guevara-esque belief that Hamas is a liberation force, that Israel is deliberately trying to massacre young Palestinian children, when of course the opposite is true. And it's frustrating to see that lack of understanding, but ultimately that's what it is. It's ignorance, and it's a pretty perverse sympathy for what is a grotesque organization.
Well, in the case, I don't know, Rihanna, and I got to tell you, what's the name of the Knicks player? Amari Stoudemire. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He alleges that he's part Jewish. His mother reportedly was Jewish. He goes to Israel a lot, and I think his Twitter handle is Israel Amari or something like that. Anyway, long story short, he tweeted out in support of Palestine, and then I don't know if he even took it down or not. I think some people are just ignorant and they don't get it and they don't know, but I think there are a lot of people, and I'm not including Stoudemire or Rihanna because I don't know them, but there are a lot of people who are just Jew haters, and I think this is their excuse.
Right, and I think that does come into it, and I think it's actually about time that we started calling that for what it is, because Hamas is a particularly anti-Semitic organization, even for Sunni Islamist groups. Hamas, the Hamas Charter, references the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. I mean, it's loopy in terms of its anti-Semitism, and it's completely clear. They're proud of it. So it's, I find it quite amusing is the wrong word, but I find it speaks to the hypocrisy of, especially, I think, the European left, that they celebrate this group that is so manifestly against, Israel and Jews for the sake of them being Jewish.
Right, and Tom, Hamas says that their goal is to kill Jews all around the world. So they don't even go under the guise of anti-Zionists. We must destroy Israel, but that has nothing to do with Jews. We hear that from so many Jew haters, and we hear that from the Palestinian Authority. It's Zionism they don't like. But they're saying their goal is to kill Jews wherever they are. And yet, how could you blame protesters in the streets of Western Europe when we have a president who is still sending money to a government that includes Hamas?
Right. Well, I mean, and this is going to be the big debate, I think, in the coming weeks about how you can support a unity government that, I support the peace process. I've got some heat from conservatives over that, but I would be the first to admit now that there is no point. You cannot support a government that is waging war, not simply against the state of Israel, but in a very deliberate sense, trying to kill as many Israeli civilians, allies of the United States, as they can. That is untenable from a U.S. government point of view. Again, it's typical that the administration hasn't got in front of this. They just prefer to hide about it. But, we're going to have that debate now in Congress about going forwards how the United States interacts with the Palestinian Authority.
Yeah, you would think so. You would think we would have had that debate the second the rockets started flying, or even better, the second they signed that unity government deal. But not our State Department, not our White House. Anyway, let's move on. You've written extensively and trying to educate the world as to who the new quote-unquote Osama bin Laden is, who Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is, the head of ISIS. Why don't you talk about him and talk to me about this? I kind of hate when the mainstream media says they're so violent that they were thrown out of Al-Qaeda, as if Al-Qaeda doesn't chop heads and blow people up. I don't buy that. But talk about Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi.
Yeah, well, al-Baghdadi essentially is a product of Al-Qaeda in Iraq, the organization that was basically smashed by the United States Special Operations Community with British Special Forces in the later years of the war in Iraq. But what's enabled him to come to power now is essentially the growth of his movement, partly because of Maliki sectarian governance, but more because of the chaos in Syria and the attraction that has had for Salafi jihadists around the world. He's become a magnet for that. The problem is now, because of the success that they've had in recent weeks, it's fed their sort of semi-psychotic ideology of, that it's an ordained victory. So the problem we have is that they'll be pushing even further now. And from my perspective, the really big issue, which is why it's such a problem for the United States, is that there are a lot of European passport holders in ISIS who, because of Snowden, have learned to stay off the radar. So they'll be going back home, probably trying to get on flights to the United States and cause havoc. And, if people stay off the internet, it becomes very, very difficult for intelligence officers to get them on the radar, and it becomes very much easier if you have a European passport to gain access to the United States.
And that's what's been talked about, and that's the big fear among security experts, as you said, is that they have passports, they could get visas, and we don't know who they are, and they could come in here and they could launch attacks from here after they're planned over there much more easily than Al-Qaeda would have been able to do in the past.
Exactly. And I would just say, Steve, one of the interesting things about this, one of the most important things, is that ISIS shows the myth that this idea that if the United States just got out of the Middle East, that we wouldn't have a threat. ISIS is the greatest threat I think we have faced because of that European passport issue since September 11. And we were not in Syria, we were out of Iraq, but because Salafi jihadism is such a global agenda, a death cult that seeks to dominate the world, they won't stop. The intransigent top tiers will not stop until they're either dead or in prison.
Tom, great to talk to you again, sir. Thank you very, very much.
Well.
Always appreciate it. All right, folks, and we will be back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show. When we come back, it'll just be you and me for a while, so don't miss it.
Hi, I'm Jean, and this is my one and only Henry. We just love scouring flea markets for special treasures. But with my type 2 diabetes, we now spend all the time at the pharmacy. With Medcare, I don't have to. They deliver everything I need right to my door with free shipping. Plus, Medcare takes private policies, Medicaid, even my Medicare. Sleep apnea machines, nebulizers. Medcare has all the finest medical supplies. The best part, Medcare saves us money. Medcare allows us the time to do the things we love. Medcare, we deliver a better life.
I'm at St. Jude because I had a cancer inside of me. They diagnosed me with a brain tumor. You have to be strong and don't give up. Attitude is everything. You have to fight.
Imagine your doctor tells you your child has cancer with only months to live. Where would you go? What would you do? Who would you turn to? Fortunately, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is fighting every day to save children's lives. And with a gift of just $19 a month, you can join the fight.
This is my kid that they're giving back to me. I am so grateful.
At St. Jude, no family ever receives a bill. In fact, no family pays St. Jude for anything. That's why your gift of $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, is so important.
When I thought that I might lose my son, they gave me hope. You are not only saving a child's life, you're breathing life back into that family.
If I hadn't come here, I wouldn't have my son.
St. Jude's life-saving research and treatment is shared freely with hospitals around the world.
St. Jude gives you hope and happiness. They're helping us live. Maybe in the future, kids won't have to go through this. We'll find a cure and it'll all be over.
Please, call and become a St. Jude Partner in Hope right now.
If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, our qualified CPAs, tax negotiators, and support staff know the law and know how to get your situation under control legally and permanently.
Call the number on your screen now and we will contact the IRS on your behalf. Help you end wage garnishment, stop collection calls, remove tax liens, resolve tax penalties, and reduce the amount you owe if you qualify.
Call now and find out how we can help you resolve your IRS problems.
Call the Tax Resolvers at 800-489-3480.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. Medical breakthroughs could change the way the most common form of dementia is diagnosed. Researchers from around the world in Copenhagen met to discuss new ways to diagnose Alzheimer's disease. Eye dyes and other new methods were put on the table. Despite huge steps forward, effective treatments for the disease have yet to be found. And a casino boat found itself stranded off the coast of Georgia during its maiden voyage overnight. Coast Guard's crews awaited a high tide to remove the 123 people on board the ship earlier today. The escapade was about 1.8 miles away from the popular beach destination near the Georgia-South Carolina border. No injuries or medical issues were reported. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
A real absence, though, of American leadership in the region, because I think that you've got these rockets going into Gaza from Syria and Iran, and we haven't made a strong enough presence in that region to have people be afraid of this country, and so I think there's a sense that they can get away with anything they want to get away with.
Cokie Roberts? Wow, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show, folks. In the next segment, we'll be talking to Bill Donahue, president of the Catholic League. You're not going to want to miss that. He'll be here in studio with me. But Cokie Roberts saying people aren't afraid of this country anymore. They think they could get away with whatever they want to get away with. Whoa, knock me over with a proverbial feather. And she's right. She's absolutely right. How dare she have the leeway to say that, though, on ABC on This Week with George Stephanopoulos. I'm quite shocked, frankly, but good for her. It's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Now, Ronan Farrow, who I guess has a show because they think he's Frank Sinatra's son and he's Mia Farrow's son, Mark Regev, the Prime Minister's spokesperson, Israeli Prime Minister's spokesperson, I don't know why he even goes on MSNBC. Why would he go on with Ronan Farrow? But he did, and Ronan Farrow tried to make the point that, I guess, Erin Burnett, and I tweeted this out last night, Erin Burnett sat there and said, oh boy, what was this? She questioned, Israel, that it's self-defense, if Israel's killing civilians, and how can it be self-defense? And I'm so sick of it. And only one Israeli civilian killed, and it's a tote board to them. It's a tote board. And Israel's stronger. Why should they be able to be stronger? Maybe we should arm the Palestinians, right? Well, listen to this from Ronan Farrow to Mark Regev.
So, Mark, attacking that clinic, the mosque that was recently struck, the head of police's house that killed, I believe, 18 people and injured 50, that's all just an unavoidable consequence of trying to target terrorist targets.
Let's be clear, if you use the example of the head of police, it's not like he's, from the New York Police Department. This is the head of internal security of Hamas. He's the man that enforces Hamas's iron fist over the people of Gaza, where they've got this, Islamist government, and they stamp out all freedom. He's not a police officer in the American sense of the word at all. He's more like a police officer that we knew from the old days of the Iron Curtain.
Yeah, educate Ronan Farrow, please. More.
We didn't want to see in that strike non-combatants get hurt, and that's why, specifically in that strike, we made an effort. We warned in advance with early warning. We've got this system where we call it a knock on the roof. We use a firecracker or a large explosive that doesn't hurt anyone, just to make a noise so people know innocent civilians should vacate that premises. And we are not happy that in that attack there were non-combatants who were hurt. For us, every non-combatant who is hurt, that's a tragedy.
Yeah, I'm sure Ronan Farrow was totally unconvinced. Ronan Farrow would rather defend the right of Hamas to indiscriminately fire rockets at Israeli civilians on purpose. Hey, they got to do what they got to do. After all, they're oppressed people. They're occupied. Bill Donahue coming up. Don't go away.
It was intended to take the roar out of America's roaring 20s, but instead its passage divided the nation and began an era of bootleggers, speakeasies, and rum-running gangsters. When ratified in 1919, the 18th Amendment to the Constitution outlawed the manufacturing, transportation, and sale of intoxicating liquors. Consequently, organized crime was quick to step up and quench the thirst of an eager nation. The Volstead Act gave federal agencies the legal authority to enforce prohibition, but with an average of only 30 enforcement agents per state, the illegal liquor flowed freely. By 1925, in New York City alone, authorities estimated over 100,000 illegal bars were thriving, with customers consisting of friends, neighbors, and lawmakers alike. Still, some law enforcement became famous fighting the booze trade. One was Elliot Ness. As a top agent of the Bureau of Prohibition, Ness led a team of men known as the Untouchables. Tough and incorruptible, they brought down Chicago bootlegger and mobster Al Capone. But bowing to public pressure, in his 1932 presidential campaign, Franklin Roosevelt endorsed the repeal of prohibition. It was later reported, with the Depression in full swing and national morale at rock bottom, then President Roosevelt remarked, "I think we could all do with a beer." With the passage of the 21st Amendment on December 5, 1933, prohibition was officially repealed, making the 18th Amendment the only amendment in the U.S. Constitution repealed by the passage of another. Still, even with the repeal of prohibition, many states chose to remain dry, the longest running of which was Mississippi, who didn't repeal their self-imposed prohibition until 1966. For Newsmax TV, I'm Bill Curtis, and this is an American Moment.
Broadcasting.
If you want to shed the fat and sculpt your core to get those sexy toned abs of your dreams, then stop doing sit-ups.
Say what?
and start dancing with Hip Hop Abs, the fun new ab sculpting system from Insanity creator Shaun T.
I don't want you to ever get down on the floor to do crunches again. I'm gonna break it down so you burn the fat and sculpt those abs fast.
Just do Shaun's easy-to-follow moves to work your upper abs, middle abs, lower abs, and obliques, all while you're dancing.
I went from a size 18 to a size 2. I have abs now. I've got a six-pack.
And now the complete $80 Hip Hop Abs system is 75% off. That's right, Hip Hop Abs is only $19.95. We'll even upgrade you to express shipping free. Get the complete Hip Hop Abs system for only $19.95.
Call 1-800-488-9042 or order online at gethiphopabs.com. 1-800-488-9042. Call now.
When you've got a serious leak, it's time for Leakender 2000. It fixes any leak fast, no matter what's leaking. Just spray it with Leakender 2000, and in minutes, the leak is sealed. Look, we'll cut this garden hose with a knife, then shut off the water and spray on Leakender 2000. Minutes later, the hose is as good as new. The cut is sealed. Leakender 2000 is a unique compound that fills and seals any crack or separation as it hardens. Why put up with gushing gutters, dripping drains, wet windowsills, and rain-soaked RVs? Leakender 2000 stops all those leaks, and it's yours for only $14.95. Call now and we'll double your order. We'll send you this giant-size can at no extra charge. Order now.
To order, have your credit card ready and call toll-free. 1-800-873-2700 or send check or money order for $14.95 plus $5.95 shipping to the address on your screen. Call 1-800-873-2700.
Tonight we are a country awakened to danger and called to defend freedom.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
One day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
Let us say we allow these 7,000 children to stay here and grow up American and go to our schools. What do we say to the 60,000 that are going to follow them? Right. And the 150,000 that will follow? Can we house them all, Father? Do we have the whereabouts? We can't even take care of our own kids here now.
That's Paul Rodriguez, Mexican immigrant, liberal, talking to Don Lemon and expressing the views that a lot of Americans are expressing. I have a story here in my hand, folks. The death march through Brooks County, Texas, claimed the life of yet another illegal immigrant, a human skull and decomposed skeletal remains, all that's left of a person. That's 42 bodies that have been found this year in the desert-like ranch fields surrounding that area. And that's a Breitbart story, Breitbart.com. Joining us now is Bill Donahue, my friend, president of the Catholic League, and always great to see you, sir.
Thank you so much, Steve.
All right, once again, the Pope's remarks have been misinterpreted, and you believe this time they've been misinterpreted not only by the left, as they so often do to meet their agenda, but also by the right. Now, the Pope spoke out on this issue of the kids coming to our border without their parents and reaching our shores here and going over the border, and basically said that they should be taken care of. The left, I believe, and you clear me up, interpreted that to mean that the Pope thinks they should stay here, and the right has their own interpretation. So tell us what he said and who's right and who's wrong.
Well, the Pope certainly has it right, and he's speaking as a quintessential Catholic, not just because he is the Holy Father, but because he just basically explains what Catholic teaching on this subject is. There's something for liberals and there's something for conservatives. The liberals like the idea, and conservatives need to get over it if they don't, which is that you have to tend to people who are the dispossessed. We don't go around asking people, if you found somebody in the street, let me show you your card, let me see your documents. What you do is you tend to the person. These children need our help and they need to be cared for. That, however, does not mean that once you're taken care of, that we need to retain you, that you've got a carte blanche right to stay in the United States for the rest of your life. The Holy Father understands the need to secure our borders. But he also says that if you're here, you first tend to the people in a humanitarian way. Now, you have people on the left who are misinterpreting this by saying that the Pope is saying everybody's allowed to come in, open borders, welcome the whole world, and take care of them. The Americans have an obligation to take all these people. He never said anything of that nature. Then you have people on the right, like Michael Savage, who have made some pretty savage kinds of remarks about the Pope and calling him a communist and saying he's trying to exploit this whole situation. No, what the Pope is simply saying is you have no choice but to tend to the needs of the needy once they're here. He doesn't say that therefore they have a right to stay here for the rest of their lives. If you want to deport, retain, he doesn't tell the people in a micromanagerial way what to do. And I don't like the caricature on the right or the left of the Pope.
Right, and he doesn't. He's not saying that anybody from any problematic country, economic circumstances, humanitarian circumstances, should be brought to the United States, need to be welcomed into the United States. He's just saying if they get here, you know, you got to feed them, clothe them, house them until they could be sent back.
That's right. That's right. And I see.
So what did Savage say?
As a Catholic, I find that very acceptable.
I think most people, even the senators on the right, are saying, take them to a hotel, give them a great meal or two, get them an outfit clothes-wise, clothe them, and then put them on an airplane and send them back. That would be $1,000 a person. But what did Savage say that upset you?
Savage is calling them all kinds of left-wing names. And acting as if the Pope is just has some special agenda, or that he's so soft that he doesn't care what happens. He said this on a radio show last week. Let me tell you what the Pope explicitly said. He said, we need to have the international community tell those nations down south in Central America that the trip up here is dangerous. We shouldn't encourage it. And indeed, we should help the developing world, the developed world should help these nations get development so that maybe the people wouldn't have the same incentive to come here in the first place. He never said, you know, there's a green light, everybody's allowed in, do whatever you want, U.S. has obligations toward them. And Michael Savage, I think, was cruel in some of the language that he used against the Holy Father.
It's unusual for the right to attack the Pope.
Well, you know,
although I mean, Russia I'd use the word communist too, but then clarified that he didn't mean it.
He said some of his economic policies were Marxist and such, but he didn't have any kind of meanness to it.
But Savage went over that line.
And I defended Rush for being critical of the Pope without crossing the line. I think Mike did.
Yeah, savage remarks from Michael Savage.
Yeah.
All right, so where do you think, I mean, where does the Pope aside, is it acceptable, do you believe, to just clothe, house, feed, you know, dress these kids and then send them back? That's acceptable? The Pope would, maybe not the Pope aside, the Pope would accept that? Or would the Pope say, you can't send them back to where they ran from?
Let's put it this way. I can't speak for the Pope, obviously, but I've never heard the Pope say, and I've been looking at his words very carefully, saying that once they're in, they're in for good. And lose it or use it kind of thing. No way. He's never said anything of that nature. He understands the idea for border security, and the bishops in Texas have been very good in stressing this. So there's something for liberals and there's something for conservatives. It's called the Catholic way.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the Pope. Since the last time we met, a lot has gone on. A lot is always happening. Every time he speaks. Do you believe that the left is still out there talking about their hopes that this Pope will accept gay marriage, will accept female priests, will you know their whole agenda, or have they backed off on that and calmed down on that?
That's an excellent question, because I think they're in flux. What I'm saying is this. There was a time not too long ago, 6 months ago, if we dialed it back, they're definitely pressing the Pope to make all these changes. I think they realize now there's a debate going on within the Catholic left. Is he going to do it or not? There's a difference between being pastoral and reaching out to people who might be divorced and remarried and they didn't go through the annulment process. We don't want to treat them like dirt. A woman who's had an abortion, we want to embrace her so she doesn't have another one. See, the Catholic way has a softness to it and yet a sternness to it, and I think it's misrepresented on both sides. And so that's where I would address it that way.
And I know it's a couple of weeks old, but did the Pope make remarks regarding specifically priests marrying and talking about that is something he is considering?
There have been some misinterpretations here, but this one here I'm going to give some of the media a break on. Quite frankly, when the Pope sits down with a 90-year-old man, in this case he happens to be an atheist, I wouldn't care if he's a devout Catholic, and there's no tape recorder, and there's no notes being taken. And this is the second time this has happened. If in fact he's been misinterpreted, I think the Holy Father has some of the blame for that himself. Maybe the next time somebody ought to cue him in and say, take the tape recorder going, or don't have an old man come out there and then give us his version, and then you have Father Lombardi out of the Vatican trying to walk it back and explain what he said. So I think the Vatican deserves some blame on that as well.
So because he put his faith in the memory, if you will, and the writings of a 90-year-old man without any tape recorder way to verify it.
That's where you're going to get the problem. And I think to blame the media on that is a cheap shot.
The health of the Pope. It's been discussed widely. It took me by surprise because here we saw this vibrant man who was, constantly, going his own way, breaking tradition, driving himself, staying here instead of there and rearranging everything. And then it took me by surprise when I saw the reports. I don't know how substantial those reports are. They are. What are his health problems?
And I've known about it for some time.
What are his health problems?
Couple of things. Number one, he's gained an awful lot of weight since he's been Pope. Number two, he's fatigued. And he has missed a number of assignments and the like. So all of that is true. Now, I am not saying that he's teetering or anything of that nature. I'm simply saying, does he have health problems? Yes, he obviously has health problems.
And so if we could expect to see, as you allude to, he's missed an appointment here, an appointment there. So we could expect to see more of that until he regains.
He regains his strength.
Yeah, because it's not a systemic. It's not a congenital.
No, we're not talking about some kind of a congenital problem that he's going to drop or something of that nature. But he probably needs some more rest, quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, I think
maybe he should rest as much as our president does, and then he'd be healthier, because this guy doesn't seem to work for a living.
Well, then he'd have to play pool. He'd have to play golf, and I don't know.
Well, maybe the mayor of New York has a good idea. He just takes off whenever you have a crisis. Now he's going to Italy.
He's going to Italy. I don't know if he's planning on. I can only say I hope. I know the Pope is not political, but I would hope the Pope wouldn't meet with them with his political history. But that's interesting, because now the city council president is having her lawyers look into the legalities, because if the trip is scheduled for more than 9 days, then she gets to play mayor while he's gone.
She can't wait to become mayor.
I know.
This city's in bad enough trouble without her coming in.
Oh my goodness! And just as an aside, Long Island Railroad strike. That's going to affect you.
Yes, it will, and others at the Catholic League, and it's very unfortunate. I just hope they come to a settlement.
Yeah, Bill, always great to see you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Always great to see you. The one and only Bill Donahue, and I say this every time we have him on. I'm so glad we're friends, and I admire him so much. Not afraid to say anything about what he feels, and that's what makes him so great. And he's a great friend, and I'm glad to have him here on the Steve Malzberg Show. All right, folks, and let this be a lesson again, once more. when you hear the reports on what the Pope has said, it's always interpreted by whoever's telling you what those those reports, who's giving you those reports. So if you hear it on MSNBC or CNN or any of the networks, just proceed with caution. And probably the best thing you could do is tune into the Steve Malzberg Show and know that if it's big enough and controversial enough and needs explanation, we will be in touch with Bill Donahue, and he will tell you exactly what the Pope meant. Okay, folks, we're coming back with, you know what it is. It's Gimme 5. You know it, you love it, you got to have it on the Steve Malzberg Show next. Don't go away.
Is your property a jungle choked with overgrown saplings and brush? Take back your land with a DR Field and Brush Mower. Nothing stops the DR. Thick grass and weeds, out-of-control brush, briars, or canes, even 3-inch thick trees are no match for America's favorite brush mower. Lock it in and rip it up. Clear it out, clean it up, and rediscover the land you've lost. And with optional attachments, the self-propelled DR Field and Brush Mower converts into a finish mower, a snow thrower, a portable chipper, or a grater blade. It's a field and brush cutter and so much more.
Call 1-800-456-2023 for a free buyer's guide and DVD. You'll learn how you can try a DR at home for 6 months for as low as $58 a month and get free shipping. Hurry, this offer won't last. Call 1-800-456-2023. Online at drfieldbrush.com.
Do you sleep too hot while your partner sleeps too cool? Do you struggle to sleep at the right temperature? Now Sleep Number has a solution that's as revolutionary as its beds. Introducing the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer. The amazing Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer allows both of you to select your ideal temperature for better sleep. The Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer works with any mattress brand. It features active air technology, which evenly distributes air to heat and cool each side to the temperature you prefer for head-to-toe comfort. Call or click now for this free $50 savings card and catalog.
My husband and I both prefer different temperatures. He likes to have his side of the bed a little bit warmer, and I like to have mine a little bit cooler, and we are finally sleeping better together.
After sleeping on the dual temp layer, I find that I have such a restful night's sleep that when I wake up in the morning, I am energized and I'm ready for the day.
All night long, you can each enjoy sleep at a temperature that perfectly matches what your body needs for comfortable sleep, so you can sleep better together. In a research study, 75% reported poor sleep because of their sleeping temperature. That's because your body's temperature naturally fluctuates at night. But with the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer, you can sleep comfortably warm or cool. And because the revolutionary Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer helps solve an important sleep problem, it was selected as a very innovative product by Good Housekeeping. Remember, the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer can be added to any mattress brand, so everyone can enjoy sleeping better at the perfect temperature. Call or click now.
Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now for a free $50 savings card and catalog with price list. For your peace of mind, the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer comes with a 100-night in-home trial. Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now. That's 1-800-317-5283 for your free $50 savings card and catalog.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him opening his own clothing store at the age of 18? 1 in 138,000. Excited to be a part of pop culture, he packed for the big city. The odds of finding someone to invest in his vision? 1 in 4.5 million. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
Do you lament, you're going to be leaving politics, do you lament the Republican Party's stand on immigration reform, on an unwillingness to come together to find some path to a path to citizenship for those illegal immigrants here to somehow fix some of these problems?
To say this is a Republican problem is just completely wrong.
It's a Republican political problem for sure in elective politics, is it not?
All right, folks, welcome to Gimme 5. David Gregory on Meet the Press with outgoing Congressman Mike Rogers. Republican problem. Do you lament the fact the Republicans won't do this, the Republicans won't do that? It's all the fault of the Republicans in mainstream media world. And to his credit, Mike Rogers did fire back. Interesting. We go from that to CNN and Don Lemon. Seems I've been doing a lot of Don Lemon lately here. And he's interviewing comedian Paul Rodriguez, who's a Mexican-American. And I don't think that Don Lemon got the answers that he expected when he broached the border problem with Paul Rodriguez. Watch.
Paul, let me start with you. You know, we're a nation of immigrants. Look out there tonight at the Statue of Liberty. We have compassion for children. Why are we so divided in this country as to what to do about this problem?
All right, well, first of all, here, you'll get the answer in a second. First of all, we're not a nation of immigrants. I don't know what that means. I'm not an immigrant. My son's not an immigrant. Don Lemon's not an immigrant. What does that mean, we're a nation of immigrants? Could someone explain what that means? And to the extent that we were, you know, immigrants built this country, yeah, legal immigrants built this country. We have borders. Every country has borders. You know what Mexico does to people who cross their border on their southern border? You don't want to know. Now, Paul Rodriguez responds.
I don't think we are divided. I think America has is hard in the right place. We need to be compassionate. We need to be strong and enforce our laws. It is precisely why we should make it clear in these countries that regardless of the the trauma that they're obviously going through. But name me a Latin American country that doesn't have poor people. We have to set laws. We have to invest and let them know that it isn't the land of milk and honey, that life isn't easy here. You know, my heart goes out to the parents that have to traumatize their kids to go through Mexico. They must go through terrible abuse. But at the same time, if we accept these children and we don't repatriate them, it's only going to send out a clear signal to everyone in Latin America that if you get to America, you will stay here. And then if you think those numbers are big now.
Wow. Not what I would have expected from Paul Rodriguez. I've heard his politics in the past, and I guess Don Lemon has heard his politics in the past, and Don Lemon was caught by surprise, caught off guard. Watch.
People may be surprised to hear that coming from someone who is an immigrant.
Absolutely. But, you know, there are ways to come to this country. You know, there are ways, there are legal ways. Look, once they're here, I'm not saying to be cruel to them or anything like that. But if we accept, let's say we accept these children, we let them to stay here in America, we give them good homes, what is this going to say to everybody else? Are we prepared to be overwhelmed? Because that's exactly what's going to happen.
Wow. Now, again, folks, what Paul Rodriguez is expressing here is what most Americans feel, what most Americans believe, even very, very compassionate Americans, even Mexican Americans to an extent, like Paul Rodriguez, a liberal Mexican American, who said, you can't just let every kid who wants to come to this country come to this country. I mean, there are other regions besides Central America where things aren't so good now in the world, in case you haven't noticed. Once you let these kids stay, what do you think's going to happen, he says. But they don't like that on CNN. They don't like that on NBC or ABC or MSNBC more.
Let us say we allow these 7,000 children to stay here and grow up American and go to our schools. What do we say to the 60,000 that are going to follow them? Right. And the 150,000 that will follow? Can we house them all, Father? Do we have the whereabouts? We can't even take care of our own kids here now.
And you're hearing more and more of this from the minority community in the United States. I am presenting this to you every single day. African Americans, Mexican Americans saying, wait a minute, what about us? What about our kids? What about the people who are here now? Who need housing? Who need education? Who need better health care? What's going to happen if you overrun the system and open up the door? On the Steve Malzberg Show.